Ọlọ́jọ́ òní ìbà ẹ o, akọ́dá ìbà ẹ, ikú mẹ́rin ayé ìbà yín o. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìwọ Olódùmarè tá a dá ọjọ́ tọ́jọ́ náà tó kò. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò náà, èmi ni Erelú Túnwàṣẹ. Ètò yìí òun là ń pè ní Àgbà kò ní tán nílẹ̀ Oòduà. To those of you who are part of this pilot, watching this particular program, I am Erelú Túnwàṣẹ. This program is called Àgbà kò ní tán nílẹ̀ Oòduà. It simply means may elders never cease to exist in Oòduà land. This program has one important focus. It is education, which is different from agitation. It is education. What I do is to bring in individuals with track record of success relating to the topic, not necessarily qualification. Anyone is not an engineer, is not necessarily informed about community affairs. So it's not about qualification. I repeat, it is not about academic qualification. This program focuses on experiences of direct involvement in making things happen for others and in the best interest of harmony worldwide. So I repeat, this program is not about qualification, I mean academic. So what are the areas that are relevant in terms of those I've invited? There are people who may have held positions of importance somewhere where they've been playing a role in making things happen for the community. The topic today is Yoruba freedom fighters of Yoruba land and Diaspora Yoruba freedom fighters. We gather today to share experiences, to identify issues, challenges, as well as provide solutions. So I want to repeat, this is about the experiences of those who've been involved in community affairs. That is the only qualification valid for this program. Let me say, for the first half of this program, we'll be communicating in English because a number of the youths who are watching as a pilot, majority do not have this language. We will also be using Yoruba language. At the time when we are going to switch to Yoruba language, I shall let everybody know. But in terms of receiving information, it's going to be in English language, and any speaker is free to use both. So let me say a very warm welcome to you. Every guest that I've invited to speak, I'm going to invite you to please introduce yourself. Please focus on your experience or experiences of being involved in the community, not the degrees you've gathered in university. No, this is about community experience. So at some point now, I'm going to commence. First, I've got two individuals who are going to deliver what I call opening remarks before I go to the guest speaker of honor and keynote guest speaker of honor. So without further ado, permit me to say I've got two individuals who are here who will be delivering 10 minutes each of opening remarks. And the first one is going to be someone who is worldwide known as Prophet Osekita. A very warm welcome to you, Prophet Osekita. I'll hand over to you. As I said, introduce yourself, tell us about the relevant experiences that would be useful to put your information today into context. Over to you now. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erelu. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to everybody on the line with us. My name is Prophet and Evangelist Folayan Osekita. I guess that should be enough for introduction. I'm only a servant of God. I am a professor of love. That's who I am. Everything I do is rooted in love. And that is what entangled me, I would dare say, with somebody like Erelu, who is a formidable friend, sister. If you make enemies with her, she's a very serious enemy, so don't joke. There is not much that I have done, really, by myself that has not involved Erelu in terms of the subject at hand, freedom fighting. Who is a freedom fighter? The Bible says to speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves. And the very first conversation I ever had with Erelu, I don't know if she'll remember, that was the subject she brought up and we talked about extensively. Speaking up for other people. She told me how she has been doing that for a long time. She told me a lot of things that day, and I never forgot. And it's one of the reasons I'm still involved with her up till today. The freedom fighter is somebody who is selfless, who would take risks, because there is no general enemy. I hope we have not been disconnected. There's no general enemy of this world like somebody who tells the truth. Aṣòtítọ́ ayé òun lòṣìkà ìlú. Òṣìkà ìlú òun láṣòtítọ́ ayé. When you are a proficient liar and you're a despicable human being, a pathological liar, the world would embrace you. That's what's going on in the US right now.
True.
We have somebody like Trump, a despot, a despicable human being. In this past elections, the guy got 74 million votes. How can 74 million people vote for that kind of person? And he sold himself to them as a lover of America, as a freedom fighter. Trump is not a freedom fighter. Trump cares only about Trump. That is the difference between a freedom fighter and a non-freedom fighter. A freedom fighter cares for other people, and sometimes, in fact, most times, over and above themselves. That is what took me. I lived in Peckham. I still live in Peckham. I love Peckham. There are a lot of my people in Peckham. I love my people, but Erelu and I found out very quickly that our people do not love us. I'll come to that later. Let us go ahead with this freedom fighter bit. The freedom fighter stands on the side of truth, no matter what, and no matter the costs. The few examples I want to cite, Erelu knows about them. Let me start with Damilola Taylor. when Damilola Taylor was killed, the boys who killed Damilola Taylor, they lived on the same landing as myself. I lived at flat number 1. They lived at flat number 5. Just 1, 2, 3 doors between us. They targeted my children. I stood very, very firmly against them. Any small error, I'll call the police. And they hate you calling the police. They will hate you more and punish you more, but they will not be able to harm you. They will let you be. They targeted Damilola Taylor because there was nobody to fight for him. His father was in Nigeria. His mother was working almost all of the time. And the boys, he called his father when the pressure got to him. Daddy, they are going to kill me. Oh, come quickly. By the time the man came, the boy was dead. He was dead. As a freedom fighter, that really touched me, and it touched Erelu. We came together to protest against the targeting, wrongful targeting of our people. That is freedom fighting par excellence. Harriet Harman, the moment Damilola Taylor's father came into town, I got word that he was in town. I went to see him immediately. He embraced me. We got together. I went to visit them almost every day to console them. I met the mother, you know. But the moment the politicians, Harriet Harman actually came through me. They didn't have any access to Damilola Taylor's father. So somebody told Harriet Harman that I knew them personally and I know where they are. So Harriet Harman officially came to my home in Peckham to take her to Damilola Taylor's father, which I did. But the moment that connection was made, the Damilola Taylor's father that I was supporting with my blood, with everything that I had, the one whose son had died, the one we went to support, the one on behalf of whom we went into Peckham streets to protest. As we were protesting, our own people were mocking us. They were laughing at us. We became laughing stocks. In fact, there was a newspaper article written about Erelu and myself with our photographs, accusing us almost like we were bandits. You would think we were Boko Haram or Fulani herdsmen. Erelu can confirm what I'm saying. What did Damilola Taylor's father do? He collaborated with Harriet Harman and co. and froze me out. The next time I visited their home, they didn't let me in. Can you believe that? I am the one that went to comfort them first, before anybody else. For what reason? I've never asked him. We've met after that. I've never asked him, and I would never ask him. But what he did was despicable. And that is the face of our people. In essence, I said I was going to come to that. Instead of our people lifting Erelu and I up, coming to join us, maximally supporting us, the way the Caribbean people, the Jamaicans do. The 2 Caribbean boys, the 2 Jamaican boys that killed Damilola Taylor, the massive support they got at all levels, including among the politicians of their ilk, is just unbelievable. They didn't want us to know who killed Damilola Taylor. I remember Vicky Naish. She was like a top politician in Southwark at the time. She told me that if I know those who killed Damilola Taylor, I'm going to be very shocked because the police had already told them. They didn't want to tell me that they were more or less my next door neighbors.
You are going to have opportunity to continue at some point. You've already used 15 minutes. So,
oh goodness.
Please,
let me just, okay.
I'll bring, just do the opening remarks and I'll bring you back in at some point. Okay. Now,
we always forget that there's strength in unity. Àìrìn pápọ̀ ejò ló ń pa ejò lára. Àdánìkanrìn òun ló ń ṣe ejò léṣe. Divided we fall apart. United we stand. Tá a bá lè ṣera wa lọ́kàn ìbá dára jù. Pàápàá àwa Yorùbá, àwa la burú jù gbogbo in the whole world, àwa la burú jù. Ìkórìíra ti pọ̀ jù láàrin wa. And that is why I have a big problem with this Yoruba nation matter. We'll come to that at another time. In summary, freedom fighting is beyond an art. It's a commitment rooted in love. Tó bá nífẹ̀ẹ́, you cannot do it. Because the mọ́tara ẹni nìkan, ó ti gbilẹ̀. Ẹni tí ò bá nífẹ̀ẹ́ òtítọ́ àti òdodo cannot fight for anybody else. Àdúrà mi ni wípé kí Ọlọ́run kó sínú gbogbo wa ní àpapọ̀. Ká lè realize pé ó pè wá láti rìn papọ̀ pẹ̀lú òtítọ́. Ká lè fi àgbájọwọ́ sọ̀yà. Ká lè fi ọwọ́ méjèèjì gbé ẹrù wa dé orí. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Erelu, you know how much I love you. God bless you. Sure. Keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing. God bless you. Sure. Thank you. Please don't disappear. I'll be delighted if you can still stay around as far as possible because I know you're always a busy man. Prophet Shegon. If you just join us, you are on and why we gather today, the topic, freedom fighting, freedom fights. Let me go straight on to my next guest who is going to again deliver opening remarks. And as I've said, every guest will introduce himself or herself, focusing not on academic qualification, but detailing relevant experiences to support why he or she is here. So over to Alagba Ayo Badejo. You have 10 minutes, please. Sure.
Okay. My name is Ayo Badejo. I'm a broadcaster. I have been broadcasting in this country for almost 30 years, focusing on the global African experience, and trying to find a way to bring us together as a people. I'm a broadcast engineer. I've been working within the broadcast engineering infrastructure in this country for more than 20 years. Yeah, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I think I'm from Ijebuode, also Anagowe. Yeah, I've known Merilu for a while, and yeah, it was within the realms of what I did, which was technical broadcast support for some projects that she was doing at the time. And we did have a lot of struggles when we first met, because our ideologies were a bit apart, but the more we knew each other, the more we realized that we were actually trying to go in in the same direction, but taking different routes, and we've learned to understand ourselves much more better. Okay, I'm coming to the topic of today, Yoruba freedom fighter. The first question I would put out is what I mean, Yoruba freedom fighter. What is what are Yorubas trying to gain freedom from? And without knowing that, then a lot of things start getting confusing. And in order for us to understand what Yorubas want to get freedom from, we then have to ask ourselves, who exactly are these Yoruba people? What ties them together? What makes them a group? What makes them think that they have a common interest that they need to fight for? And all these things have not really been defined properly within our community. One of the last person that had the momentum to hold to move that momentum forward a bit was Papa Awolowo. He was the last person to organize us as a group, as a people who spoke the same language and had the same cultural, similar cultural identity. And since his passing, we've had all sorts of people come on board with very, very confusing ideologies of one, who they think we are, how long they think we've been around, what our interest is, and where our people are. I mean, for instance, the Yorubas were one of the most people who were taken into captivity during the transatlantic slavery disaster. And the proof to that is the fact that, one, the first major revolt against slavery was in Palmares, called the Ogboni Revolt. I mean, straight away, we can see that, it was based on Yoruba structural organization, because the Ogboni was the equivalent of the parliament in Yoruba settings. So it wasn't surprising that they were the ones who organized themselves in captivity. And this Yoruba group in Palmares were free for over 300 years. I'm just trying to prove the point that a lot of our people were taken into captivity during the slavery Holocaust. So the freedom that we're trying to fight for is a freedom that goes way back. And I'm not talking about, this very, very unresearched history that we try to push as Yoruba history, where Yoruba history starts around the 14th century. If Yoruba's history starts around the 14th century, and our academics, have agreed that Ifa is over 10,000 years, all the kings that were mentioned in the Ifa corpus, did they just come about in the 14th century? These are all things that a freedom fighter in the Yoruba setting needs to go back to revisit. One of the first fights that we need to fight is a fight of belief system. Christianity and Islam conquered us. Any Yoruba that thinks otherwise is not a freedom fighter. They are part of the Yorubas that side with the enemy. We were accommodative to all the belief systems that came to our midst. But the belief system that came to our midst were not as accommodating as we were to them. They were the people who will come in, will give them land to build their churches, or give them land to build their mosque. And after they've established themselves, they'll come back and start destroying our indigenous shrines. The people who stood up against those atrocities are the Yoruba freedom fighters. The powerful Yorubas that went to mosque, and this is what happened, and it can be, research. The ones that went to mosque and used whatever energy our ancestors gave us to beat people out of their mosque or beat them out of their churches after they've committed atrocities against Yoruba belief system. These are the people who are freedom fighters. Other freedom fighters that our children don't know, especially our children in this country, are the likes of Akitola, are the likes of Awolowo. They were freedom fighters that fought to maintain and protect and project the cultural integrity of the people who spoke Yoruba language across West Africa. These are freedom fighters that we need to teach our children. Majority of the people, as I said earlier on, who were taken into slavery were of Yoruba descent, and most of them are still being what's the word? Are still being remembered. For instance, one of the people, most of our children are in Nigeria or Yoruba land, because Yoruba land it goes beyond Nigeria. Nigeria is an artificial creation that came out after the 1892 Berlin Conference. Most of this, the in 1804, the Haitians, or the people we call the Haitians today, defeated the French, the Spanish, the British, and every other colonial power based on Yoruba spirituality. As a matter of fact, on the 1804 revolt, the last thing that they did was to do a tutu to Ogun. That was the last thing that they did before they went to the battlefront, and they defeated all their enemies. Once again, the people who did this were Yoruba freedom fighters. How many Yoruba children, how many Yoruba adults in universities in Yoruba land know of this feat? Not many, because we've got to a point where it's become difficult for us to define who we are as Yorubas or whatever we want. Actually, I think, as a people, we need to go back to the drawing board and redefine who we want to be. One of the suggestions is to call ourselves, the principles that guided us when were at the height of our civilization. Omoluwabi. Omoluwabi entails a character. It entails a worldview. It entails, how you see yourself now and how you see yourself in the future. So it's important for us to define who we are. It is important for us to be very aware of our culture. We are a defeated people. We were defeated by Islam. We were defeated by Christianity. We were defeated by the British. And we're now being defeated by the Chinese. The war has not ceded. The latest threat we have in Yoruba land is the Chinese threat. The Chinese is coming back. This is according to them, to come and do what Europeans did to us, but do it better. What did the Europeans do to us? They enslaved us, they balkanized our culture, and colonized us, and took our resources. And this is exactly what the Chinese are doing, the same way that the British and the other Europeans did it, through our monarchies. At this point, I rest.
Thank you very much, Alagba Ayobadejo. Those of you who have just joined us out there, thank you for all the messages you are sending. I'm very grateful. Now, I'm I'm going to bring you the next speaker. Next speaker, I wouldn't see him as somebody from the diaspora like ourselves. But I can assure you the fact that he once upon a time was a member of the Presidential Advisory Committee shows the significant importance. After him, I will bring back our diaspora spokesperson who has listened to some of what people in diaspora have got to say. Let me therefore warmly welcome Colonel retired Colonel Anthony Unyam. Over to you. You have 20 minutes to share your thoughts with us. Welcome. Ekabo.
I'm so grateful and privileged to be invited. As a young boy, after my father, we left Cameroon. My father came back after the Second World War, came back to Nigeria, and we moved to Lagos. So at the age of 6, 1956, we moved. I was a 6-year-old boy in Yaba in Lagos. And I grew up in Yaba. From there, before I went to secondary school in Zaria, the military school. The point I'm trying to make, I have lived with Yorubas, and I came to, after so many years, to admire the Yorubas. Not because of anything. First, for how accommodating they are to non-Yorubas. In Nigeria, one of the places that is most accommodating of non-Yorubas are the Yorubas. And as evident by, after the killings of the Igbo, and they moved back to Ndibo land, when they came back to the Southwest, they were received, and most of them got back their houses without anybody touching them. The point I'm making here is, like is earlier said by the last speaker, is the Omoluabi's values, which the Yorubas exhibit. There was a point one day, I had an accident in a place, and some young guys came to help me. It was in a dark place. When they helped me, some of the I don't want to mention so that it doesn't look as if I'm mentioning one tribe or the other, said, they were speaking that, can't we just grab this man and take his things? And to my shocker, the people who were saying so were people close to my own area. But the Yoruba boy said, no, 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 no. And so the point I'm making is, the Yoruba nation is a great nation. And it is not accidental that they produce the like of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. I would say this because I came to realize that this discovery I got when I went to Cuba on a visit. I was traveling from one part of Cuba to the other, and I saw this black girl wearing whitish clothes. So I thought she was a nun. I called her, I said, who are you? She said she was an Ifa, she was a worshiper of Ifa. Then I asked her, but how come? To go to the bottom of it is, I was re-educated in Cuba about what the Yorubas were. One thing I learned there was, like someone was alluding to, freedom fighting by Castro. Castro, people forget, ran away from Havana at the beginning and ran into the bush. And where he ran into, he ran where the Yorubas were, Yorubas who had run away from the slave and ran into the hills. It was there Castro went, and Castro got his refuge there. And they came out, they were the major fighters of Fidel Castro. That's why I tell everybody, like I did tell former governor of Osun, Aregbesola, if you're a freedom fighter and you're a Yoruba man, go to Cuba and go and see how Cuba is the only place where a black man is given his due respect, much more than anywhere else. And when I questioned the reason, it was because of the role the Yorubas played in the victory, in the liberation of the Cubans from the Americans. This is why it was in Cuba I was educated of many misconceptions I have. For example, I'm saying this, many Yorubas may not agree with me, that the Yorubas have no gods in a plural sense. Yorubas have only Olodumare. And when I asked why, they said because if you ask, I should show them any depiction, any image of Olodumare, that all the other ones, Shango, Oshun, Ogun, that they are you may call them agents of God. They are what is called the 5 elements of creation: liquid, fire, and water, earth. So what the point there was that the Yorubas were so deep in philosophy and mysticism that they understood the 5 elements you need to make creation: earth or solidity, liquid, water, that is the ocean, and the element of air. I don't know what that is in, but I know that the element of fire is Sango, if I'm not mistaken. Ogun, no, Sango. Then the element of earth is the Ogun, I think. The point is here is that people, I have also been to, after I was taught that, they then told me that in Cuba, that what we call Angel Michael, which represents that Angel Michael is the equivalent in Yoruba of Shango. In other words, that in Cuba, they use Catholic religion, all the symbols Catholic used to depict this element, this personification of these agents or energies of God. That is the equivalent that Yorubas have, that the white man came and called them gods, and we thought that Yorubas have many gods. In fact, they taught me, and I have since realized that Yorubas they only have one God. In other words, they, like Moses, believe in one God. They don't believe in many gods. That's one thing. 2 things I also learned over time. Every Yoruba man's name, it is a sentence in praise of God. For example, a person may be called Adelaja, Adeyemo, Obasanjo. The Obasanjo, the Ade there, they represent the crown of crown, not the crown of physical crown. So the background I'm giving is that Yoruba guys, you have an advantage far ahead the rest of the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria. And of course, the reason being this, you left the ancient Egyptian kingdom. You left last. We from the south, the east, the Nupes and the Hausas left earlier. So our book of knowledge is fragmented, that we do not have a book of knowledge that you still have, which is the Odus of Ifa. So the background I'm giving is that you are a privileged people. Privileged in that your history is intact, in that you are a people of the book, like the Jews. Ifa is the Yoruba Old Testament, which I have read, and is not anywhere inferior to the Jewish Old Testament. I say this as a Christian, and of course, as you know, our Lord Jesus did not come to push away the Old Testament. He came to fulfill them. So the Yorubas are in the same level as the ancient Egyptians, and in fact, I would say they are the remnants of the ancient Egyptians, just like the people of Dogon in Mali. And to that extent, the Yorubas and the Aryans, that is the Indians, have a lot in common. If you visit an Indian family and see the way they do dobale for their parents, the Indians do, you see similarities. If you see the rituals the Hindus do, it's very similar to what the Yoruba Ifa do. I remember as a child, our neighbor in Ajayi Bembe Street, Nabloja, Yaba, I used to watch the rituals they do, very similar to the Indians. And it's not accidental that the Yorubas are as good in computers as the Indians are. Because after all, the game of Ayu is based on binary mathematics. And a number of the things said in Ifa is based on binary mathematics. You see, binary mathematics is the most superior form of thinking.
Daniel, I've just had a message saying people want to hear of your freedom fighting experiences.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. What is my freedom fighter experience? Yes. First of all, I would begin that one, which is very recent, is the one, my involvement in Nadeco from London. In London, when MKO came over, when he escaped after the June 12th success, he ran to London. And he invited me, because I knew him from Lagos, to do a profile of all the key military officers, so that in the event of him taking power, to know who and who, to do a profile on them. And in doing that profile, I came closer to MQ, and I worked with Akabashon. And when eventually Tinubu came over, it was MQ who introduced me to Tinubu. He told me that, look, Tony, it will be good for you to meet Bola. And eventually Bola came, I met with him. So I worked with Akabashanu. Then I also worked with Nalikon. Nalikon was a group of Waletu Inca. It had an element who were freedom fighters. And we all worked. The point I make here is that one great Yoruba youth who was a professional, who took part in the struggle, and even died in the struggle. His name is Nelson Kasim. Nobody remembers this young man. He was the young man who died with Omotosho in the bomb blast in Ikeja. This was a young man who volunteered and came and did many missions against the military government of Abacha. Eventually, he lost his life. And I'm surprised, and I think I beg all of you to beg Governor Kaudi Fayemi, because he knows him well. We all work together. Why Nelson Kasim is not remembered? You know, he was a young guy, a professional in diaspora who volunteered. And I think I gather he left a young kid and died, but he's forgotten. That is my research. The other experience was my participation in the what I call pro-democratic action against the military regime of Babangida. I was a very close associate and the staff of Babangida over the years. In terms of personal favor, he did very much for me. In fact, 2 of my properties, Babangida helped me to buy them in the UK. Babangida was a man who came in and we thought he was going to make a change. And in fact, he was more prepared than any person to make a change. And by the way, I will say this, MKO told me Babangida is actually, his father is from Obomosho. His name is Badamosi. His father was an Alpha who was teaching in Niger. And something happened and they gave him haram, and in cutting off his hand, he bleeded and died. So Babangida, when he took over, he said he needed a change of the system. And he started very well. That's why we helped him. And he attracted all the intellectuals, because Babangida is comfortable with the bigger you are, the better he is. But eventually, 2 years in his regime, he was kind of blackmailed, or will I say psychologically hoodwinked, that he gave in and he derailed and went back. And those who have colonized us, because somebody mentioned those who have colonized us, the last speaker, he mentioned the British, the Chinese. He left out those who have colonized us right from time, those who took over Ilorin. He left them out. I'm surprised how he will leave those ones out, because they have been the colonial power even before the British. And they are still the ones still now colonizing us. I wouldn't say they've colonized us, but they've colonized most of Nigeria. And they're at the edge of moving down to the south. This takes me to the challenges, which I would say arises from our ignorance of the following. 1, our ignorance of the need of finding the way forward from our present actual location, not as we often do, from where we wish we were to move from. What do I mean? We have to recognize that the colonial power that we've been subjected to and the constitution that we are subjected to has affected our mentality, has also structurally created imbalances that makes it difficult for us to move from where we are. So at times, we forget that we are already a handicapped people, handicapped in many ways. One example is that to become an elected politician in any part of the country, the structure has to, the structure or the system has to accept you and has to moderate you and control you. So in many ways, you are not as free to be as accountable to your people as you would have been if we are a free people. The other next things we are ignoring is those who have colonized most of Nigerians, the deceptive and their diversionary tactic of offering us a gift, which is the next election, the 2023 election. They're already dangling a bone before our dogs. And politicians, what they are more concerned about the next election. So they're like dogs, they are concerned about meeting their immediate needs, not the strategic or fundamental of Yorubas. So we need to be aware of that. We are soon going to be faced with diversionary tactics of the 2023 election. They are already offering that it will go to the south. South, it may likely go to southeast, they say. It may likely go to south-south. It may likely go to southwest. So the distraction is there. The first distraction has a first phase. The first phase is going to the south. But from my readings of the matter, is that they will likely want to go to where they fear. They may give it a gift to the people that are much more ready for the liberation of Nigeria. They are more inclined to give it to the Yorubas, because Yorubas, more than any part of other amongst, that is, the Hausas, the Nupes, the Ndibos, the South, the Middle Belt, Yorubas are the ones better prepared. And
you've got 2
yes.
more minutes to please round up. Thank you.
Let him speak as much as he wants. Let him speak as much as he wants.
I'm sorry, you cannot interrupt me, please. I'm in charge.
All right, I'll follow. Thanks, madam. The other point is, like the prophet, the first speaker said earlier, in fact, I pointed it to my young man sitting by me, a Yoruba boy who is my son. I pointed out to him. Immediately he said the word. I said, the ignorance of the power of our being compliant to the guideline of united we stand, divided we fall. Since this begins, charity begins at home. From what I've said so far, the first people that have to know this and where the church has to begin is Yorubas. Yorubas must, under no disguise, be lured to be divided. Because if the Yorubas stand together, as they did in MKO's time, they stand together, the stronger they will be. Yorubas, the next stage, Yorubas must ensure that they are not divided from the Igbos. Because if they divide the Yorubas, the next thing they would have to do is to try and divide Yorubas and Igbos. And that is the easiest catch they've always done. Once the Igbos and Yorubas are divided, we are on the part of Omeru. The third layer is that the South, as Yoruba leading, the South and the Middle Belt must be united. And then the last outer concentric outer line is that all the indigenous nationalities must be united. As I speak to you today, the Hausas are being killed much more than anywhere. The killings you are hearing in the Northwest, most of the victims are the indigenous Hausa people. So that is.
Thank you.
Yes. So I think I leave it. I was going to go to the.
You will come back again. Thank you so much for your time. Let me make it quite clear. I send out my ground rules well in advance.
Also, I'm sorry. Yes, thanks.
Not yourself, well in advance. And
Okay.
one thing I can tell you is that the topic freedom fighting needs somebody to be the captain. And I am one for today. Therefore, let me proceed by welcoming all of you who have just joined me, everybody. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ bá ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ darapọ̀ mọ́ mi, àtẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń fi ohùn ránṣẹ́ sí mi láti ìta, mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín. Kí ló kó wa jọ lénìí? Ìjàngbara ló kó wa jọ. We're here to focus on freedom fighting. Speakers, please. Time is allotted to focus on sharing your experiences as a freedom fighter. And I will refer everybody back to the login sheet that I sent out. I made it quite clear. Identify issues for us. Look at the challenges. Profile solutions. On that note, let me proceed by bringing in, if you've just joined me, those of you who came late, I'm about to go to the second to the last speaker. And let me say I have requested that all my speakers introduce themselves. I'll be very grateful if they do. I would rather they keep away all the academic qualifications that they've got, because that's got nothing to do with freedom fighting, unless, of course, you happen to have military qualifications that you can say is very important to what is on ground. I know why I'm insisting, because especially Yorubas, before you've said one word, they are detailing 1,000 qualifications that they've got to intimidate. Who else? Nobody. So let me proceed by inviting my next speaker, Pastor Okebionosi, to kindly introduce himself, share with us his direct experiences of involvement in freedom fighting, share with us the issues as he's identified them, and also provide solutions. He has a brief as a keynote guest speaker on Diaspora Yoruba freedom fighters. Pastor, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò náà.
Thank you very much, Mary Lou. I salute your effort and your work to date. And I know that this is going to yield results as we proceed. We appreciate you and thank you for inviting me to this program. I also greet everyone on the panel, on the Zoom, as well as everyone viewing from outside. Well, I think I have about 20 to 25 minutes Look, I have written out my notes.
Yes, you've got 20 minutes. Give us your information, please. Over to you. Please proceed. You've got 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, I'm reading now. I've appreciated Tuashi. I appreciate all our media people in the UK, because I'm based in the UK. But Frank Bello, Heritage, Kweki, Bedu, AY Citizen, Hamilton, and Elelu Abike, who have been in the forefront, and all our Yoruba freedom fighters and leaders in the diaspora. From one of the definitions we have, freedom fighter is a person that inspires and motivates others to fight injustices. You know, they are the pillars behind the freedom movement. They make people aware of their rights and their power. It's also because of the freedom fighters that we prospered into a free country, free from any kind of colonizers or injustice. I mean, we have an issue here. We're not actually fighting to remove a government. We're actually fighting to define ourselves, you know, as we are being constituted by God. Now, for me, as a servant of God, I'm an ordained freedom fighter, a salvation man. This time it is for the Yoruba race on earth. For me, I'm involved not because I'm a Yoruba, but because I'm given a spirit that abhors any form of oppression, suppression, enslavement, or robbery. God hates it, and so do I. God has given every race a land and language. So stay on your own land. Let my people go. So for those of us that live and work in the systems of the advanced countries in the diaspora, we must show that we have learned examples of how a nation should be run democratically and how things are done properly. Our place is very critical to the freedom fight at home. We cannot hold our peace at this time. As far as I'm concerned, we are at war already. You know, so this is an introduction. I'm going to share some of our experiences with us as I also proceed. Number one, you know, I noticed that we have had good time. Many people have volunteered, have come up to join the forces in diaspora, particularly in UK, in Americas, that I know, and in Europe. We have actually come together, formed forces to lead, to make the nations and international communities aware of what is happening to us at home. So that's a very good thing about it. But I want to point out some experiences which I think we need to also double upon, and I'm going to give solutions, proper solutions later on. Number one, Yoruba groups in the diaspora that are without mission statements, purposes, no planned projects for Yoruba people or nations, but only share news, events, and greetings should go and join the media groups. You know, and I mentioned their names earlier on. So that is the purpose. We are into this to achieve a purpose, not just to share, exchange history and events that are happening all over the world. No. So groups should actually be taking proactive stands. Number two, too much bitterness from taking things too personal. This is my experience. We are not the Almighty God and can only try our best at this struggle. Bitterness shortens lifespan. There's already enough trouble, so please don't add untimely death to it through bitterness. Let people work together and forget about the past and carry on. Number three, wrong appointment of unqualified persons into posts. This is one of my experience as well. They fail because they don't know the principles or rules of their roles, e.g. making someone who has no clue about projects to be the director of projects. You know, we can all adopt a simple rule of first ensuring that any officer proposed for a post is competent, available, and inspired by our ideology before engaging them, even though it is voluntary work. It's all voluntary work we are doing. Nobody is being paid anything for this. Number four, my experience, those of us that live and work in the systems of the advanced countries need to come up to help to transfer our knowledge of how a nation is organized and run. You know, you want to fight something, you have to design something better. You know, you have to offer something better. Number five, I have seen that some groups are formed for introducing the political ambition and recognition of their leaders. This should not be the aim and purpose of groups moving for a Yoruba nation, for instance. Number six, unhealthy competition among members and leaders. This is my experience. I got there first, so I should be the leader, even when the role shoe does not fit him or her. You know, that's wrong. I mean, this is a thing that derails many our plans and the freedom fighter groups. Poor response from Yoruba people to this cause, especially from those who are competent in nation building, planners and designers. For instance, I spoke to an engineer who told me that he was not longer interested in anything Yoruba because of his past experiences with some Yoruba state. I mean, I don't think it should be so. If one person is not helping you, another person will help. And this is the thing that affects all of us. And number 8, poor responses at rallies, meetings, no real display of patriotism, no true show of Yoruba welfare and care. I experienced that a lot, you know, because in the last October 1 and subsequent meetings we called, only a few people turn up. I mean, I understand the situation with COVID-19, but we were still able to meet. Number 9, my experience, no proper plan group governance systems, separating clear leadership from management work. The groups fail because of that problem. No proper governance systems are not there. Number 10, because we do not plan together, we may have embarrassed ourselves before international communities where they received communication from many groups on the same subject. I mean, I have that example where one MP in the UK commented on this via an email to us. We were embarrassed that they got the same, you know, request we are making to them from another group. You know, this is an experience here. There's something we have to do about all of this. Now, the challenges are faced, or we're facing together as freedom fighters. I see there are 3 groups of project challenges. Number 1, the situation now on ground is a challenge to protect and provide food security strategy, pressure, influence against our culture. I mean, for instance, we have Oba in Yoruba land. We don't have Seriki, for God's sake, you know, and land ownership. People are giving us challenge on this. Our economy, our agriculture, finance, religion, and education, they are all under threat. We have serious issues in these areas. Number B, the challenge over the current Nigerian state, the change over from the current Nigerian state to the new Yoruba state. Yes, I mean, we have to start planning how we want to change the difference between now and where we're going. If we want to start as a Yoruba nation, we don't want to start low, we want to start high. So there must be some challenge on how we want to move from where we are now to where we are going. Yeah. The third one, C, the modeling and development and implementation of the new Yoruba nation. That's a big, big challenge. I've already started the design of the new Yoruba nation system of systems and its subsystems myself. The knowledge, skills, and experience of diaspora, long employed professionals, the public and private sectors will help to ensure that Yoruba nation is placed on the same pedestal level with the advanced countries from day one. Because those of us in the diaspora, we have actually worked with these systems, and thank God for our mommy Erelu. She's been in governance for many, many years. So we shouldn't have problems in those areas. You know, the design includes the setup of an institute of Yoruba governance for producing Yoruba trained politicians so that they don't carry over their pool from the Nigerian thinking system. When we start the new Yoruba nation, it must be clean, clear. You must be initiated first by going to the Yoruba Institute of Governance. Nigeria is a no man's land, as we all know. I mean, it's like somebody, like a father or a virgin waiting for who is the strongest in the competition to take over her. So that is the advantage. That is what Fulani people are seeing and using to try to overrun the whole country because it's no man's land. Yeah, what belongs to everybody belongs to nobody. Right, my challenge number 2. The contest has begun and there's nowhere that is safe in Yoruba land now. We all know that. We are now seeing the real fruit of the 1940 amalgamation. That strategy of the federal government operating under the cover of Fulani has already failed because all the people are now placed on alert to fight. And the common northern enemy, the Fulani people, better retreat fast because the outturn will never be in their favor as they can never win anymore. We are all aware now of what their strategy is. The whole world will turn against the Fulani and their name will be synonymous with terrorism in the same league as ISIS if they don't stop what they are doing now. It appears from a recent event that this is also a challenge. There is a scope creep already in our struggle, Yoruba people. And these are already completely different fights requiring different strategies. We must be aware that these changing fronts are not a strategy for us to lose focus. We must make sure that people don't change our focus. Our concentration must be Yoruba first. We must also unite in defining what we want. Is it restructure Nigeria or total exit from Nigeria? We must make sure that we don't change our voice, you know, from what we are hearing of recent. What exactly do we want? From this recent event to do with alliance, we need to be careful that we are not renewing and restating the amalgamation of 1914, because that's the problem of who owns where and you know, that kind of thing. So we don't want to begin to bring that back again. The treaty that brought us to this situation. I have already written on this step and the problems with it. So we need to be careful so that we don't begin to form alliance that will become a problem for us in future. Number 4, my challenge, the challenges. Yoruba is fighting 2 battles, the Fulani in the bush and the federal government in the city. And there is one man that is a link between these 2 helping each other. The link cannot claim ignorance that the situation is following a design and not an accident. What is happening in Nigeria is a design. Some people designed it. It's not an accident. And they know. So we have this information so that the Yoruba can come up with better plans on how we want to face these 2 great challenges. Challenge number 5, what do you expect of a leader who we are not sure of his secondary school education? Of course, everyone in a leadership position to justify his or her ability will use whatever he or she has to lead. So in this case, as this person is an expert in guns and cattle, 1 and 2, guns and cattle, we have herdsmen, cattle rearers, carrying AK-44. So we have the 2 there, or AK-44 plus, if they have upgraded the status. So, excuse me, the person is doing his best. This guy is doing his best. He or she is not to blame whatsoever. We voted him in. So next time, if there's going to be a next time, we must show that we have learned our lessons. Else we should all go through colonization the second time. If we ever try to do anything, not learn from this experience, I think we should all go through colonization the second time. Right. So these are challenges that I found, and quickly I want to read through what I consider solutions going forward. I mean, I've already brought all of this down to the level of Yoruba issue that we are having at the moment. Number 1, Nigeria is a joke of a nation. It's a joke, very unserious, and it can never be serious until it can be identified with a single owner, single identity, single culture, single primary religion, and single form of education. Because Nigeria is of many nations. So it's a joke for us to try to say we want to govern, we want to have a single constitution, a single rule, whatever. It cannot work. It's a joke. Number 2, considered solution in this our freedom fighting group. All diaspora directors and leaders of Yoruba people, because I'm speaking for diaspora, should come together with no one bossing another, but each one representing a service for Yoruba cause in the areas they are competent and they know best. You know, that is very important. Don't just go and start being a leader, but you don't have any competency. Stay in your own area. That is that. Number 3, before you form a group, this is for diaspora people, to embark on any project or to build a management team, the first project you have to carry out is to source the people with the same standards, people with similar experiences and competencies with minimum variation. The more varied the people are, the more infighting will happen. You will save your group a lot of trouble and infighting that way. Number 4 solution, we in diaspora should take advantage of the protection that we have in the diaspora to speak up and speak out on what is right democratically. Thank God we are in diaspora. It's a land of rules. We can't just come and arrest anybody here. You know, there is freedom of speech a little bit. So let us take advantage of that. We must invest. Number 5, we must invest in our media as a matter of urgency. This is the only hope of them at home, as they have been gagged there. You know, you can't just talk in at home. Back home, they will round you up somewhere, you know, they've gagged them up there. So they are hearing everything we are doing here. For instance, this program, I'm sure some people are watching it back home, you know, now, or they'll play it back. Solution number 6, funding. Our donors will be anonymous because we have to now begin to fund issues. No, federal government will not give us money. Definitely not. We know that. You know, they won't be funding because they consider all our movement as, you know, as counter to them. But we have to begin to initiate that from the diaspora. But we will know you, the funders, for recognition in the Yoruba nation. Enough of talking, not show your heart. For where your money is, for there your heart will be. Number 7, we will use the cryptocurrency where necessary to move funds. We are experienced in this. We know all of this system, and we're going to use it. I mean, so that we don't face issues of problem with moving money and somebody's account is being locked or blocked or somewhere. Yeah. Number 8, sometimes synergy is better, but in the case of Nigeria today, no. Let each nation fight their fight. We can agree to start at the same time so that we will thereby thin out the forces of the common enemy. Because if you have 5 different people fighting this common person, you will thin out their forces, you get them confused. But with a single alliance, there will be fresh problems at the end. One of the problems will be who owns what. After all, we all fought to get it together. Another very fierce war and battle, another very fierce war, because after the alliance wins, the boundaries will not be the same as it is in Nigeria today. Boundary sharing will become an issue. If we form an alliance to fight a common fight and we win as an alliance, then how do we now come back to sort out the land distribution, the land boundaries? That will be another problem. So if we begin to fight individually now, we will not only confuse the enemy, the singular enemy, we will also be avoiding future battles within ourselves. Solution number 9 in profiling. Yoruba and indeed all nations should take the battle separately to this common enemy and not wait to defend yourselves. Help them to be divided and be confused. If everybody is fighting them from different angles, it's confusion, division, and thereby cause them to help themselves to destroy themselves. It is the safest strategy. I know of Hausa, the Nupe, the Kanuri, etc. But these new guests from the north is another thing. They will seize the opportunities to the fullest, and because their time is short, they will not take it easy. So landowners in Nigeria, be aware. It is their nature to wander up and down on the surface of the earth and take from anyone who is careless, who is not careful and protected. They lost in other African countries. It is your turn. It is their turn to lose in Nigeria, right? I'm professing that solution. If we begin to take it up individually, yeah. Number 10, stir up internal pressure against our Yoruba elected representatives to take our matters to the relevant houses for acceptance. This is very important. You cannot come up and be talking on your own to the government. Not one person elected them. The people that elected them there are the ones that must come up and speak to the representatives to go and speak on their behalf. That is what the law says. That one they will always recognize the government. Number 11, we don't seek war, but we must be prepared for one. Very important. Seek help from individual heavyweight countries just in case, because you know not what hour these guys will come. Anything could trigger it now, could trigger the war now. The signs are too clear. They are not hiding the fact. And we know that's very clear, isn't it? Be prepared, like the scout boys will say, be prepared. Number 12, urgent meeting of all Yoruba heads in the UK and Americas, planned for all groups at home that have representatives here. I have the full list of all the groups that we have in back home. So we want to have your representatives to come together. You can please call me to confirm that your name is on that list. There's a need for all diaspora heads to come together and work together and plan together. Number 12. Number 13, as far as diaspora is concerned, every one of us in this Yoruba exit program is accepted as speaking on behalf of all of us. That is the spirit. You may not agree with me on one point or other, but if you are speaking on behalf of all of us, then that's the spirit. I agree with you. You are speaking for us. Suggested solution number 14. Pressure all elected officers to both listen and to act on the will of the people in their constituencies or their local governments or their states, or they resign. If they won't listen to the electorate, to the constituents, they should resign. That's what they are there for. Report all elected officers to us in the diaspora who do not carry out the will of their people. We will publish their names to all nations practicing democracy, and we will do much more than that and make sure that they have pressures at home. They must listen to the electorate. That is one very good way, the legal way to get things done. If you are not the one that elected a person into an office, it doesn't have to listen to you. We have to go through the electorate, legally speaking, democratically speaking. Number 15, just going down now. To our leaders back home, be careful not to redefine and confuse the point of this struggle. It is Yoruba total exit from Nigeria, period. We are not reconstruction or restructuring or whatever, reconstructing or agreeing negotiation or whatever. It is complete Yoruba exit from Nigeria. And anything that will affect this, I think we are advising our Yoruba leaders back home to beware. Before they take a steady thing forward, what kind of problems can arise from that in future. Don't just get into alliance. Don't just get into agreement. Please think ahead before you commit us, because you are the one at home doing this job. We are here only to help and to assist.
You have 5 minutes to round up. Thank you.
Well, I have just 6 points. All right. Number 16, get organized in the diaspora countries and focus more strictly on the movement. We need to separate the business of self-determination from the delivery of public benefit to our members. Let this be clear in our governing documents when registering our groups. We are for the movement to get Yoruba out. Any other business of the groups is good, but make sure that you separate determination from giving your members public benefit services. Number 17, I call on all the self-determination groups going forward to publicly call and engage international leaders of democracy, the powers and their armies. Let the call be not hidden, but a public agreement to call for support and democracy. The United Nations may not be the appropriate body at now, but individual members of the UN, as much as they love and support democracy, there is freedom for self-determination in democracy. Going through UN is a long process. The individual countries will probably be a faster route. Number 18, Homeland group leaders should please send your needs to diaspora and do not get involved to try to influence their management. Things work differently here, where we are not troubled by Fulani and incompetent government. Remember that there are rules and regulations here far different from what obtains in Nigeria. Yes, 19. Home leaders should sort out yourselves and let us know in clear terms who is our Yoruba leader. And the Yoruba leader must be exactly that for all Yoruba nationalists. And our overall leader cannot at the same time be a leader of any smaller, separate or private group. That will be practicing exactly the same thing that we're accusing the Nigerian leadership of today. The president is also the leader of your Fulani. So which one is he? Is he Nigeria or Fulani? Which one? So we have to know a leader that is for everyone, not for a smaller group. In October 1, for instance, I was consulted to draw up a structure of governance for Baba Akintoye. It was to me a great honor, and I drew up a powerful structure in the pattern of the throne of God in heaven, according to the Bible book of Revelation. Although the number of elder seats was not up to 24, but it was a robust structure that would have been as immovable as the heavens has it, that even Lucifer, the devil, could not overthrow. That design is still there for you leaders back home to consider. So please define the leadership again. It's either it's a single person leading or a distributed system of leadership where, like in the NSAS strategy, there is no identifiable leader. You people at home, our leaders, need to get over past issues, please, and charge on, knowing that all things are working together for our good, including our rifts, arguments, and mistakes too. Let everyone come back together, but this time put each person in the role that they are best competent at and make sure that there is no crisscrossing of duties, and thereby chase away the devil. He operates best where there is confusion. No, we know that we're already at war. But Pastor John has already warned about that we're at war. Even though God is seriously unhappy with him for losing it when he gave it to him twice on a platter of gold.
Two more minutes.
I have written a short piece on Yoruba leadership too, with suggestion on which way to go. Okay, let me go to 22. I have just 3, notes more.
I will not allow you beyond 2 minutes.
All right. Regarding the recent communique by the Alliance, where some of us have sought audience with the government top men, I should advise that the best means of stopping them to listen is to through their electorate, which I've said earlier on. Those that elected them, we should not be guilty of the same error of the 1999 Constitution, which says we the people, when in fact there was no such meeting when we the people came together to form any alliance or got some people together to represent us. Elected government listen to the electorate. That is why they have been avoiding the referendum of the constituents. Just like the previous ones, they are not bound to listen to or respond to any communique. The alliance did not elect them into their offices. Finally, number 23, a note for all present politicians. You will not be allowed to carry over the stinking political training you've learned through your teacher called Nigeria into a new Yoruba nation. You will be required to register at the Institute of Yoruba Governance to first unlearn and purge yourself of all the rubbish of how not to run a country. No carryover of Nigeria pool. So that's
thank you very much.
2 points there. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You will still have a moment later on. If you've just joined me, I said earlier on, I am Erelu Tunwashe, and this program is called Agba Konitonile Oodua. It means may elders never cease to exist in Oodua land. At some point, we are going to switch to Yoruba language exclusively. So those of you who are watching me out there as a pilot, I will let you know when we'll be switching to Yoruba language. We have just one more speaker, And as I said at the beginning, every speaker, kindly introduce yourself, in particular highlight your apologies for that. Let me see who that. Let me say, my next speaker, although he's a highly skilled healer in all ramification. He's an experienced individual in the world of freedom fighting. So before I invite him to introduce himself, tell us a bit about himself, most important of all, remind him that the key points for his contribution needs to be freedom fighting, the challenges we faced, and in particular, the solutions. So a very warm welcome to, I call him Mabayojo, Dr. John Olakunle Mabayoje. A warm welcome to you. You have 15 minutes to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. I was very happy when I saw, did I call him Colonel Nyam? Because I don't know whether he remembers the last time I was together with him, with Professor Adebayo Williams at his birthday.
I see.
When he turned 60 at Victoria Island, we were all at a restaurant with Great Ogboru and the rest of us.
Sure.
Anyway, my foray into the Yoruba and the Nigerian freedom fighting, I can say I was born into this struggle. My parents, particularly my father, and then I had a stepmother. The three of them, my mother, my stepmother, my father, inculcated into us that we can never have progress until we get these people off our backs. They were in collusion with the British from the word go. My father was a physician, eminent physician. He set up 2 postgraduate medical colleges. And I asked him, why did he set up 2 at the same time, one for West Africa and one for Nigeria? He said that if he had set up the one for Nigeria, the Northerners will Nigerianize it and destroy it. You see, he was the doctor to all of them. The Governor General, Chief Awolowo, Chief Akitola, is written in Chief Akitola's book. And he saw how this whole problem came about. You see, if you don't know your history, you are bound to make that mistake in your future. We are in very, very delicate times. I never wanted to come back to Nigeria. I was 16 years in exile. And it was when I was in the US Virgin Islands that I decided, east or west, home is first. I wanted to go to Southern Africa. I was given 10 acres of land in Maputo and given unlimited license to hunt any elephants that I wanted to that were causing problem. It was Professor Oyebidapo, my first cousin. Everybody knows him, who reported me to my godparents. My godparents are Sir Akitola Williams and Chief Sofadansi. And Chief Sofadansi is one of the titans of the engineering business in Nigeria. He spent his young life building dams all over to provide water, to make Chief Awolowo's plan, better life, more abundant for all, possible. So I grew up in this struggle. When my parents separated and then I married, my father married a lady. The lady he married was Zeke's niece, Miss McIntosh. She started Exxon with Babfafunwa, Alex Ekweme. Alex Ekweme, I never knew his surname until he became the vice president. It was Uncle Alex to me. The three of them started Exxon. And when she married my father, she crossed over to the civil service. She and Mrs. Odesanya, who later became secretary for Lagos State, secretary to the government of Lagos State, later, were the highest paid civil servants. My mother moved to Ibadan, was the foundation person who started UCH. She knew people like Jibril Aminu when they were medical students. She knew how he came into government. You see, so I got a full picture of just how come Nigeria ended up rotting to the core. Rotting to the core. By 1975, 76, I had been coming to America on vacation. I was a medical student. I did the unthinkable. I said, with Murtala, this man has just come into government. This man is going to spoil Nigeria. They had forces by Chief Awolowo, Wole Soyinka and co. to control the students to make sure that they close the whole country down. So I decided to run and I won the president of Students' Union. That was when I knew what government was in Nigeria. Anyway, let me leave a lot out. Let's go back to freedom fighting. The Second World War was about freedom fighting. Am I not correct, Connor?
Sure, yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Hitler was the ultimate tyrant.
Sure.
People don't know about history. You see, that's why we don't appreciate Chief Awolowo enough. Though the man had a lot of force. In 1952, 53, when my father came back from England, he had no salary because he refused to be paid as an African doctor when he has specialized and had the same qualification as Sir Alexander Brown in Ibadan. For 13 months, he didn't get a salary. What did they do? They made him work in the Creek Hospital. It was changed name from European Hospital to Creek Hospital. And he was living in Marina next to the Governor General, and the Deputy Governor General, the Lieutenant Governor. One day, he went to treat the Lieutenant Governor General, and he could walk into State House and the Deputy State House. Anyhow, nobody challenged him. He went there and he heard the word Yoruba and Awolowo, and he stopped. If you've been into that house, that's the Lagos State government governor's house on Marina. There are long corridors there. Voices travel. This was in 52, 53. And he heard them, he stood there, and he heard them discuss that, what does this Awolowo think he is? Talking about socialism and whatnot, and what they lambasted Awolowo. And when my father had listened enough, he continued walking. He used to wear rubber sandals because of the hot weather. And just to allow them know that he was coming, he cleared his throat and went in. What he saw, he told his father, and he told Chief Awolowo. And my grandfather was best friends with Oni Aderemi. Chief Awolowo, may God rest his soul. We need to understand something, that what we do to take us to our next level has to be clandestine, completely clandestine. And the colonel will agree with me.
Sure, sure.
I would want each and every one of you to go and read history about a man, a Canadian businessman called William Stevenson. His code name was Intrepid. He's the man who saved the war. He saved the world in the Second World War. Nobody knew about him. He never wanted to complain any accolades. He was a military contractor. He had business. He was getting contracts from the American government, and he set up a business which later became the Office of strategic services at the end of the Second World War.
Yeah.
He was getting money from the government.
You've already used 10 minutes. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, no problem. He was doing that thing. Chief Awolowo had a similar structure. He was using people like Chief Rewane and Chief Shonibare. Luckily, we saw Chief Rewane's role in the Nadeko struggle. And what happened to him? What did they do to him? They killed him.
They killed him.
So you have to be very careful. This has to be clandestine operation. I want to highlight certain things. The chiefs, the ballets, the obas. What is their role? We have to be very careful and outline the role of each of them, because many of them are compromised by their political leaders and their agendas for 2023. For now, I would suggest that we just stick with restructuring. I know why I'm saying so, because that is what the Americans and the foreigners will buy into. Let us leave Yoruba Republic. You see, you have to be practical. Where you are going, you don't tell your enemy. So now the public safety in Southwest Nigeria, that is what we need to focus on for now. Who are the custodians of the public safety? Let us call them the farmers. Luckily, Southwest Nigeria is unique in Africa. Every farmer is allowed to own a single barrel gun, a ding gun. Am I not correct?
Yep.
Then let's go to the role of the Yoruba in the diaspora. The most important Yorubas in the diaspora are the ones in the West African diaspora next to us, Benin Republic. If we must think strategically, Colonel, the Yorubas are in a unique situation.
I'm going to raise a point of order. You are on an English channel. It's American that talk across. No, please leave Colonel alone. I'm just leave her.
No, okay. Let us start with the West African diaspora. Then from the West African diaspora, let's go to the South and Central American diaspora. Now, how do you find every attempt at funding? Every attempt at funding will be asked with questions. Our people are not like the Igbos who contribute money. We cannot go forward with funding when the people you're asking money for want to know exactly what you're doing through. This is a clandestine operation and has to be remain clandestine if it has any chance of success. Then Pastor was talking about the legislators. How do you expect legislators, states, House of Assembly and Senate to cut off the hands that feed them? Seeking their intervention is a futile exercise. We're wasting our time. The farmers farming, they are the ones that we have to come. Because elections no longer exist in Nigeria. What we have is selection using money. I hope I have enlightened you all. I want us to be careful. Be careful. The less we talk, the better.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Mabayoje. Dear viewers, the pilot group out there, I'm going to just run through some of the issues you raised with me throughout this program in English. And as soon as I've done that, we are going to sadly say goodbye to you. The next slot, which is going to be for probably an hour, 15 minutes, is going to have the freedom to speak in Yoruba or English. So let me go through some of the issues you've raised with me. Mama, how can we fight without money? None of you talked about money. Religion and freedom fighting. What are the two to each other? Someone said, ignorance fighting way forward. Many of us hungry every day. you, okay, I have to put the name, Pastor Okebionosi talked about leader. Who told him there is a leader? And why do we need a leader? And my final comment, there's a lot, competency and nation building. Are the Hausa Fulani competent? Are the Yorubas competent? Are the Igbos competent? I'm going to leave the rest till another day because I have a long list of issues raised. On that note, I want to thank you very much for joining me for this first half in English language. I thank you very much for being there. I know a number of you can understand and speak Yoruba, so permit the next hour and a half to be in Yoruba. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò náà. Ibi tá a dé nìyí o, níbi tí a ti máa fọ èdè àbínibí. Ìyẹn ò ní kí ẹni bá fẹ́ fọ òyìnbó kó má fọ, ṣùgbọ́n abala tá a wà yìí, abala èèbó ni. Inú mi máa ń dùn tí n bá rí ètò yìí nítorí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ò mọ̀ pé Ifá ló gbé ètò yìí kalẹ̀. Ifá ló gbé kalẹ̀. Òrìṣà ló gbé kalẹ̀. Nítorí wípé inú Odùfá náà ti sọ fún wa pé ká múra gbàtàràgbà, ká múra gbàtàràgbà, ìwà là ń wá ìwà. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ pásítọ̀, wọ́n pèdè kan wọ́n ní standard. Ṣé rí àwa tá ti ń jagun tipẹ́tipẹ́, èmi tí mo jókòó láti 1978 ni. A dẹ̀ ti rí oríṣiríṣi àwọn èèyàn tó jẹ́ wípé ń tán máa jẹ náà torí ẹ̀rọ sáàárín wa. A ti mọ̀ wọ́n tipẹ́. Níbi tí wọ́n ń pè ní Peckham, mo mọ̀ kí n tó pe àwọn tó wà ní Peckham. Alàgbà Ayọ̀bádéjọ, ẹ kú jókòó. Alàgbà yẹn ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ rédíò tipẹ́tipẹ́. Àbá lórí rédíò kó máa ké gbàǹjarè ẹfẹ́ nìkan tó ju ẹ̀fọ́ lówó. Àbá ń dí ẹ̀ rí. Ó máa ń ṣe ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó péye ní. Ẹ̀rù máa ń bà mí gbogbo Yorùbá tí ò bá ti ń pẹ́ súnmọ́ di làǹlà súlàǹlà. Èmi ò ń ráyè wọn. Pastor Prophet Osekita àti wà lẹ́nu ìjàngbara yìí. Peckham ni gan ni ìjàngbara wà. Brixton ìjàngbara ni o. Lewisham ìjàngbara ni o. Dalston, ó ṣe ní láàánú pé màmá kan tá à ń pè ní ìyá Àbàdàn, Olódùmarè kó bá a délé fún ìyá yẹn ìjàngbara. Ìlera ló jà, ìyá alágbo là ń pè. Ènú yìí ni wọ́n ń sin ní London, Olúwa kó délé fún. Ìjàngbara là ń wí. Ìjàngbara. Àwa ìjàngbara ń gbà tí wọ́n lọ kó àwọn ọkọ àtìyàwó, wọn ni wọ́n tẹran ọ̀gbẹ́, má jẹ́ ká ìṣòro tèmi. Tí mo ṣe pé ìjókòó yìí ni pé mo ń wo tó ń pè ní jàǹgbara láyé tá a wà yìí ká tó wí wọ́n ti ń bèrè owó. Wọn ní constitution. Kódà orúkọ ẹgbẹ́ wọn rẹ́gísítà ẹ̀. Wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ wọn ti máa bèrè owó. Àwọn fẹ́ lọ ṣe kíní kan, àwọn lọ ṣe bá, àwọn fọ́ lè ṣàwọ́. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n ṣèbò. I get sick and tired of Yoruba organizations and their madness about money. She's a madness, absolute madness. Àwa tí a ti ṣèyàwó ńgbà tí wọ́n fi bẹ̀m̀bẹ́ kó aṣọ fún wa lọ sílé ọkọ. Ẹnìkan kò lè máa lóhùn wówó ọbẹ̀. Kàkà máa mọ ohun tó fẹ́ sè. I meet many Yoruba organizations, supposedly with competent people. They have no organizational development plan. They will start organization one day. By the whole week, they're already doing business. I find it totally annoying, absolutely ridiculous. Kato somati mabirewo, kilo son lowo yi, wọ́n ṣépè owó fọ̀tá wa ni. Alàgbà Ayọ̀bádéjọ, àwọn nìkan náà ti ń jàjàǹgbara di ọgbọ́n Yorùbá, àwọn Caribbean wọ́n ń lísìn sí rédíò wọn, ibẹ̀ náà ti ń ṣe. Mi ò gbọ́ lórí ibẹ̀ kí wọ́n máa ní ẹ lọ kó wá rí. Mo dẹ̀ ti ń gbọ́ rédíò yẹn ó ti pẹ́. Ṣé ká máa tẹ̀síwájú? Àwọn Caribbean ní diaspora wọ́n ń ṣe Emancipation Day, Reparation Day. Mo ti lọ bá wọn ṣe ìwúre lọ́dọọdún. Àgbọ̀, it is unbelievable. I repeat, ẹ wo ẹgbẹ́ Yorùbá bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lórí WhatsApp group ìkànnì owó náà máa fojoojúmọ́ wọn bèrè bí ìgbà tí nǹkan ń ṣe wọ́n. Ìyẹn nìkan kọ́, wọ́n á tún máa ní kẹ́ máa kówó sí bank account individual. Kí ló ṣe yín? Àwa tá a ṣàwo a lè ṣe wúrúwúrú bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. Yorùbá gidi ni wá. Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ jáwọ́ nú àpọ̀n tí ó yọ. Freedom fight is not about collecting money first. No, it's about sitting down and knowing exactly what you want to do. What you want to do. Alàgbà Òsèkìtà sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan. Nígbà tá a fẹ́ ṣe protest mi pẹ́ anybody. Ló ti yẹ yín àjókòó. Ìyàwó ẹ̀ mo mọ ohun tó ṣe. Òun fúnra ẹ̀ mo mọ ohun tó ṣe. Èmi fúnra mi àmọ́ ohun tá a ṣe àdẹ̀mọ́bí tá a bá dé. Tá a bá ti máa wí sìn ìkan tó ti ẹ̀yà mílíọ̀nù wọ́n ṣe pàdé kan wọ́n ní kan máa fáwọn alámọ̀tẹ́kùn lówó. Wọ́n nígbà tí kì í ṣe pé government of that state torí wọ́n dàrú tán kó mọ́tò síta tí wọ́n lè fund ẹ̀. So ẹ jẹ́ kí freedom fighting yé wa. Freedom fighting àti owó at the same time òun ló máa ń dẹgbẹ́ Yorùbá rú. During this COVID-19 year wọ́n ti dáwọ́ fẹ́ gbẹ́ wọ́n náà ṣe freedom fighting. Ó tún máa ń yà mí lẹ́nu freedom fighting Yorùbá. Nírí wọn kọ́ print síta owó tán gbà àtẹ̀ntó fún wọn. Nírí wọn kọ́ print síta owó tán gbà àtẹ̀ntó fún wọn àti kí náà ṣe náà even lórí platform wọn. Àwa kan ti pẹ́ nídìí. Ó dàbí tán bá gbẹ́jọ́ bá mi nílé ẹjọ́ ni. Tí Yorùbá bá nǹkan míì tí ò yẹ kán jẹ̀bi wọ́n á jẹ̀bi. Nítorí wọn ò kí ń ṣe bó ṣe yẹ kán ṣe, kò dẹ̀ rí bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Now, so let us understand that freedom fighting, of course, requires resources. It requires money. But àwọn tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ kówó sí lápò yìí, ẹ má bínú. Àwọn tẹ́bí ń pa ní púpọ̀ nínú wọn tán níṣẹ́ lápá. Please, mi ò kí ń fọ̀rọ̀ lábẹ́ àwọn sọ. Nítorí pé ẹni tí ebi ń pa tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ ṣe freedom fighting púpọ̀ àkọ́kọ́ owó tá a máa san fún sódà kò ní jẹ́ran jẹ́. Owó. Náà wọ́n á béèrè lójoojúmọ́, where is the plan? Where is the plan? Wọ́n á béèrè, as I said, freedom fighting needs strategy. This purpose tí a wà yìí, èyí tá a ṣe kó tá a wà yìí ni pé kí ló ń jẹ́ ìjàngbara? Ìjàngbara, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ ti sọ lóyìnbó, ẹ ti ṣàlàyé pé kí èèyàn gbàyàn kúrò ní ìṣòro kò sí sẹ́rímọ́nì ń bẹ̀.
Hello? Hello?
Ń bọ̀, ó dàbí ẹni pé wọ́n ń pè wọ́n right. So ibi tí mo dé yèmí náà máa tó máa bèrè àwọn èèyàn kan wá dá sí ọ̀rọ̀ tí à ń sọ yìí. Àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n bèè lóyìnbó wọ́n ní ẹnìkan sọ ẹ lè jàjàǹgbara láì rówó, ẹnìkan ní ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn mo dẹ̀ ti mọ̀ nǹkan ṣe é sìn ni àwọn fẹ́ lọ pe babaláwo kan tó fẹ́ ṣoògùn fún wọn, àwọn ń wá ayẹta, àwọn ń wá ayé epo, àwọn máa tún ṣépè, àwọn ṣépè, àwọn ń wá ayẹta. Please, gbogbo GoFundMe kò ju ọ̀rọ̀ owó lọ. Please, kí ló dé? Kí ló ṣe ń pẹ̀lú owó? Kí ló ṣe ń pẹ̀lú owó? Ẹ bá bi wọ́n who are the members of this organization. Wọ́n ní kódà àwọn ọ̀sán membership. They have no list of the members. They have no list of the members of the organization. They don't know who their members are. Anybody is a member. They don't join formally. they wá kòkòrò àwọn jọ má dé bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pariwo àwọn gbogbo kíní kan jẹ́ àwọn kíní kan tán bá ti rówó wọn lè ṣe nǹkan kí ló ṣe yín. Then I want to ask kí ni iṣẹ́ ìjọba yín náà. Let me give you one point. DFID and USAID wọ́n ní pockets of money to help freedom fighters. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ẹgbẹ́ tí wọ́n ní tó ra wọn jọ wọ́n máa pa àwọn akúṣe kan wá dáwó sápò fún wọn. Owó kílẹ̀ nìkan ní ẹni tó ń gba £30,000 a year níbi kan tó máa ní mortgage a rí £50, £100 kan fi síbẹ̀ á lóhun èèyàn ẹ jẹ́ ká jáwọ́ nú àpọ̀n tí òyà ká gbómi lákaná yẹn kan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n dánu dúró báyìí nítorí pé n tó burú jù ní freedom fighting ó ní owó ọ̀rọ̀ money mania tó ń lọ at the moment, money mania. And if we are going to have n tí mo lè sọ wípé ká ṣe bó ṣe ká ṣe ìwà tá à ń hù nídìí pé à ń ná owó ó ṣe pàtàkì. Tó bá fẹ́ ṣẹgbẹ́ kan máa dáwó ẹmu ẹni tó jẹ́gbẹ́ yín ẹni bank account lórí orúkọ ẹgbẹ́ yín ẹni bank account lórúkọ ẹgbẹ́ yín wọ́n á máa sọ fún wa pé kò ṣeé ṣe irọ́ ni. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n tẹ̀síwájú bá ẹ jẹ́ kí n pè lára àwọn tó wà ní àgbo yìí bóyá rí n tó fẹ́ sọ sí kókó ọ̀rọ̀ tèmi nìyẹn. Kan méjì máa dúkìrí babaláwo kan wọ́n máa bọ́ sórí WhatsApp wọ́n máa ní ẹ̀wọ̀ ibì kan làwọn ti mú lẹ̀ kíníkan ní o ìgbà wo ẹjọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run. Mi rò wípé ìyẹn ni freedom fighting. Mi rò bẹ́ẹ̀. Freedom fighting àwa kan ti jà. Mo single-handedly jà ní orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ńgbà tó ń sọ pé bọ́n ṣe ń sin àwọn ọba. Mo mọ iye owó nínú àpò mi tí mo kó wọ̀lú mi ṣe làǹlà. So let's go forward kí wàá tó fẹ́ bá mi dá sọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Now tí n bá ti débi tí mo wà yìí màá máa pe orúkọ tí mo rí lórí platform tabarẹ́ni tó fẹ́ bá wa dá sí. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n padà sí ọ̀dọ̀ alàgbà Prophet Osekita. Ẹ dákun ìṣẹ́jú 5 péré kí lẹ fẹ́ tún rí sọ sí torí pé lẹ́yìn eléyìí the next thing ni pé kí n dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ tẹ́ ẹ bá ní tẹ́ fẹ́ dá sí nínú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí it's okay but tá a bá ṣùrì tẹ́ fẹ́ sọ ẹ bá dá sí ní Yorùbá.
Okay, mo dúpẹ́ níwọ̀nba tí mo fetí kó èyí tó ya èmi lẹ́nu jù tó jọ mí lójú níbẹ̀ ni pé Ọlọ́run gangan onígbàgbọ́ lèmi. Mi ò mọ̀ nípa Ifá, mi ò dẹ̀ mọ̀ nípa òrìṣà. Èmi ò feel pé ó di dandan kí gbogbo wa sùn ká kọrí síbì kan náà. Ìfẹ́ ni mò ń bá deal. Nílẹ̀ Yorùbá oríṣiríṣi ni wá. Àjẹ́ wà lára wa, oṣó wà lára wa, àwọn agbẹ́bọ wà lára wa, àwọn abọ̀rìṣà wà lára wa, àwọn onífá wà lára wa, a pín sí oríṣiríṣi. Ojú ọ̀run tó yẹ fò láì fapá kanra wọn náà.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Kí ni ìdí tá a fi lè fìfẹ́ papọ̀?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Onígbàgbọ́ lèmi, oníṣẹ̀ṣe lérelú. A dẹ̀ ń fìfẹ́ bára wa lò for many years. Wọ́n rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn onígbàgbọ́ tó ń sọ fún mi pé kémi má bẹ̀rẹ̀ lúrin o, ẹbá kan ní o, kí ló kan fádà anybody nípa yẹn? Kò kan yálàyà anybody, pardon my language. So kẹ́ fẹ́ dá Yorùbá nation sílẹ̀ ní tí ò bá dẹ̀ ti bá yín dá sílẹ̀, ẹ máa condemn gbogbo wa. Àwa ọmọ àlè làwa ọmọ àlè Yorùbá ta lọmọ àlè nínú èmi àtẹ̀yin? Ọmọ àlè mélòó ló wà nítòsí? Tọ́ máa ní ká nawọ́ sókè pé ta lọmọ àlè nínú wa ta ló máa nawọ́ ẹ̀ sókè. Kémi sọ pé torí pé ẹ̀yin fẹ́ ṣe Yorùbá nation nísìnyí pé gbogbo yín pátápátá ọmọ àlè ní àwọn nǹkan tí ò jẹ́ ká ní lọ síwájú gangan nìyẹn. Àìsí ìfẹ́. Ìfẹ́ ló lè fa ènìyàn mọ́ra. Ìfẹ́. Nǹkan tí mi gbàgbọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀ tó bá fìfẹ́ bá mi sọ ó ṣeé ṣe kí ọkàn mi change. ṣùgbọ́n kó máa pè mí lọ́mọ àlè kó máa ṣépè fún mi torí pé mi ò gba nǹkan tó gbàgbọ́ gbọ́, that is ó burú jáì. Ká má wulẹ̀ tún ara wa. Èmi ò dẹ̀ lè gbà fún anybody. Mi ò ní báyàn ágí o, mi ò bẹ̀ ní bá anybody jà. Ṣùgbọ́n ìgbàgbọ́ tèmi dá mi lójú.
Ẹ ṣeun alàgbà Prophet Sekita, ẹ ṣeun fún ntẹ̀wé. Nígbà tá a kọ́kọ́ Jèrèlú ní London yẹn, àwọn ẹlẹ́yẹ àwọn nǹkan kan, ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo ọ̀nà ń sáré sí náà ń Jèrèlú. Àtẹn tó jáládùúrà papọ̀ ìjàdúrà lè ń Jèrèlú. Ẹ jẹ́ àtẹ̀síwájú. Ẹ jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú. Alàgbà Colonel Tony Liam, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ kí lẹ tún bá a rí sọ lédè Yorùbá. Oh, sorry. Have you unmuted yourself? We can't hear you. Let's have a look. Let's see.
Ìdé mi sọ ni pé, first of all, nǹkan tí mo rò pé ọ̀gbẹ́ni tó sọ̀rọ̀ before prophet ni pé tá bá ń lo orúkọ restructuring, pé à ń jà fún restructuring, it is a declaration statement. Kò mean pé ìyẹn là ń fẹ́. Mo fẹ́ bẹ̀ pé ká má ṣe mistake káwa ṣe ní April 1990. Ká lọ declare intention wa too early. Nítorí ibi tá wà ń sìn ni pé we need to win the friends. Nígbà bá achieve restructuring yẹn, tá bá wo restructuring, tá bá achieve ẹ̀ gan-an, kí ló stop èèyàn láti di tó fẹ́ dì? So I need nǹkan tó lè fà wá tá lè unite ká bá lè achieve goal kan first. Nítorí struggle tá à ń sọ yìí kò easy bá ṣe ń rò ó. So I need kálákálá láti climb step kan náà. Step yẹn náà ni pé kí n má parọ́, ẹ̀yin Yorùbá náà lẹ ti ń lead ọ̀rọ̀ restructuring. Ẹ̀yin náà ló yé, ẹ̀yin náà lẹ ń show leadership. So ẹ jẹ́ ká achieve eléyìí. Tá bá ti achieve ẹ̀, kò sọ́jọ́ lè stop èèyàn. Ká má jẹ́ kí pé kí wọ́n jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa bára wa jà. Ìyẹn ni o. So ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ni ọ̀rọ̀ àti ká wà clandestine. A mọ̀ pé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà nílùú òyìnbó. Nílùú òyìnbó náà ni àwọn ex-SAS ló train àwọn ọmọ wa ní Bristol on iṣẹ́ tá a ṣe ní Nàìjíríà. And àwọn tó wá gbogbo mọ́sọ̀ tó ṣe training yẹn 90% àwọn Yorùbá ni wọ́n. So ẹ jẹ́ ká relate mọ́ àwọn British officials. Ẹ má yẹ kí ká bá wọn jà so that tó máa mọ̀ pé because right now we share the same values as them. Wọ́n lè fún wa ní training. They can do a lot of help quietly behind. Britain helped us. Norway helped us tremendously. Norway. Norway helped us a lot. So did Canada. So you guys have the chances to exploit. And the other thing, the issue of using Bitcoin, diaspora money is very important. There should be a way to pay, and most of the people don't send owó yẹn, Yorùbá àti Igbo ló pọ̀ jù o. How does it benefit? At the moment, benefit central bank nìkan. How does it benefit the struggle? If there's a way that can be organized that the money sent from diaspora can be managed by people from the areas that are from, so that they can use them, they can benefit from it. Thank you.
Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Kókó ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ ń sọ fún wa ń bẹ̀ ni wípé ìjà agbára yìí ká ronú sí dáadáa. Tẹ́ bá rẹ́ni tó rí passcode kọ́kọ́rọ́ tẹ́ fi wọlé ní ìjà ọgbọ́n. Mo pẹ̀rù yín torí pé àwọn tó ti jàjà nàdẹ́kò. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àmọye àwọn countries tó ran àwọn nàdẹ́kò láyé ìgbà yẹn àmọ́, ṣùgbọ́n kókó ibẹ̀ ni wípé ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ wípé ìkọ̀ọ̀kan là ń yẹsẹ̀ nù ẹ̀kú. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n fi àkókò yìí rán àwọn Yorùbá in particular létí. Gbogbo àwọn tí state government jẹ lówó tó ń bọ́rọ̀ owó Ọ̀yọ́ state láìpẹ́ yìí jẹ́ 20 billion kan ní House of Assembly wọn approve. Ṣáà tó tẹ́ jẹ lówó wọn á jẹ kẹ́ ẹ túká torí pé Fúlàní kan bá yín jà. Àwọn tẹ́ jẹ lówó ẹ jẹ wọ́n lówó. Please, let me give Ọ̀yọ́ state as an example. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ lọ wo many free trade zones to exist in Ọ̀yọ́. Àwọn ló invest síbẹ̀. Ṣé ẹ̀yin ni àbáwọn China? Go and see ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Wọ́n ń pe kinní kan ní silos. Àwọn Chinese ló invest síbẹ̀. Ẹ dákun. Onígbèsè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹni bá jẹ gbèsè. Talking about freedom fighting. Wà á kọ́kọ́ bọ́ gbèsè ọ̀run ẹ̀ dànù náà. Wà á kọ́kọ́ bọ́ gbèsè ọ̀run ẹ̀ dànù náà. Kò tó lo fẹ́ free. Ẹni tó jẹ China lówó, tó jẹ Amẹ́ríkà lówó. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́, àwa ìlórí ọ̀fẹ́ nígbà tí bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ leading to that time, àwọn nàdẹ́kò yìí náà ní debt redemption. The debt was redeemed. Wọ́n ti redeem ẹ̀tàn tán tún ṣe. Àwọn state wọ́n yáwó tí wọ́n ní pàṣẹ ẹgbàgbé ti federal government. So ẹni bá lóun fẹ́ túbì kan ká, ìbéèrè mi ni pé gbèsè tẹ́ jẹ mo lè fẹ́ fi sí ìyẹn kan. So èmi ò níbi kan ní kẹ́ẹ̀dórí kọ o, ṣùgbọ́n gbà tá a máa kúrò ní Europe a ronú gbèsè. Ẹ jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú. Mo rí alàgbà wa kan, mo rò pé Benson lórúkọ wọn. Tẹ bá wà ń bẹ̀ tó ń jẹ́ Benson's iPhone, mo fi níṣẹ́jú méjì mẹ́ta bóyá àárín tẹ fẹ́ sọ kí n tó tún pa àwọn tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n jẹ́ gbòǹgbò ọ̀rọ̀ lónìí. Benson's iPhone, ẹ dákun ta ló wà ní orí fóònù bóyá àárín ohun tí ẹ fẹ́ sọ. Tẹ́ ẹ bá rí ohun tẹ fẹ́ sọ, ẹ jẹ́ kí n pe ẹlòmíràn. Benson's iPhone. Ó dáa. Ẹnìkan tún wà ń bẹ̀ tí mo rí wọ́n jẹ́ Ọlálékan Ọ̀dẹ́dèyí. Jẹ́rí ń tẹ fẹ́ bá wa sọ ní ráńpẹ́. Ọlálékan Ọ̀dẹ́dèyí. Tá a bá ti rí àwọn kan wà ń bẹ̀, Ọmọọba Báyọ̀ Ògún mi rí rest orúkọ wọn. Ọmọọba Báyọ̀ Ògún mi rí rest of the name. Ẹjọ́ ṣẹ́ṣì wà ń bẹ̀ tẹ́rí ń tẹ fẹ́ bá wa sọ. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n tẹ̀síwájú. Mo rí ẹnìkan náà tí wọ́n ń jẹ́ mi rí orúkọ eléyìí. Tó ẹ dákun jẹ́ kí n padà lọ sọ́dọ̀ alàgbà Yorùbádéjọ kí lẹ rí bá wa sọ lédè Yorùbá èdè abínibí. Ẹ ṣeun, mo dúpẹ́. Alàgbà Yorùbádéjọ ṣẹ́ṣì wà pẹ̀lú wa.
Ṣé ń gbọ́ mi?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni à ń gbọ́ yín báyìí.
Ẹ kú ètò.
Ẹ ṣeun.
Ibi tí má ti bẹ̀rẹ̀, nǹkan tí mo ti sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ ni as a group of people, àwọn kan á sọ pé àwọn kì í pé Yorùbá kọ́ ni gbogbo wa, àwọn kan á sọ pé Ifẹ̀ ni wá, àwọn kan á sọ pé the fundamental thing ni pé I need láti define enter jẹ́, and the definition tá a bá fúnra wa ló máa wá define way tá a máa fi organize ara wa. Another problem tá a ní, nǹkan tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ ká gbé sẹ́yìn ni pé nígbà tí wọ́n push wa sí civilization àwọn Gẹ̀ẹ́sì, kò lè ṣe pé ọ̀nà ọ̀là wà lójú àti làjú kan tó dé, and these are mindsets that our people have to have, because at the end most of our Yoruba intellectuals ló jẹ́ kí wọ́n suffer from inferiority complex. And part of the inferiority complex is due to the fact pé mọ́ra wa mọ́. And àìmá mọ́ra wa ní ò jẹ́ ká mọ nǹkan tó yẹ ká ṣe. One of the biggest mistakes we've made and are still making is that ability not to intellectualize the Yoruba language. By now, ó yẹ kí gbogbo field of study kan ti translate sédè Yorùbá. It was something that people, smart people had ideas of. A minister of education Nigeria lórí potential yẹn tó nip kìíní in the bud. Because one, morúkọ ẹni tó run program yẹn gbà ó escape me, but bóyá àwọn tó wà ń pa ní àrántí tó run ní secondary school ní omimọ̀ bóyá Ìbàdàn ní Àbọ̀yọ̀ tó ń kọ́ ọmọ wa ní èdè Yorùbá in all subjects. The children did very well, including English exams. Tá a bá intellectualize èdè wa, ẹrú ni wá. We cannot liberate ourselves into someone else's language. You become slave to whose language you liberate yourself in. Táwọn èèyàn bá fẹ́ understand nǹkan tí mò ń sọ, kàn lọ study history Japan. Nígbà tí àwọn Gẹ̀ẹ́sì, because that's who the Americans are, nígbà tó lọ sí Japan, the Japanese were not overexcited. They saw new knowledge and they thought to themselves, how can we integrate this new knowledge into our system? Kí náà ṣe? Wọ́n rán ọmọ wọn láti lọ kọ́ new knowledge yẹn ní èdè whatever tí new knowledge yẹn wà. Then wọ́n wá ní àwọn èèyàn tó translate new knowledge yẹn from English or whatever language that existed back into Japanese. Even the same thing, not ṣe pẹ̀lẹ́sìn. Shintoism ni fundamentalist ní Japan. Nígbà táwọn Americans dé, eventually, gbogbo àwọn, I mean, some people might find it offensive, but this is history. Gbogbo àwọn Japanese tó convert sí Christianity, àwọn Japanese pa wọ́n dànù ni. Because they saw it as a potential contamination to their culture. I'm not saying Yoruba should go to that extreme, but we may have to. Tá a bá define entire jẹ́, tá a define worldview wa. You see, the British took over the world because they had that worldview to take over the world. It wasn't by chance. Kí ni worldview àwa Yoruba? Especially now that we've become a global people. We exist in Nigeria, in Benin, and there's a big Yoruba population in Ivory Coast, in Sierra Leone, in Cuba, in Trinidad, in Brazil, in Jamaica. In Jamaica, they have a Bekuta village, which is named after Abeokuta, and this was about less than 10 years after the real Abeokuta was founded in West Africa. So without defining who we are and making our language an intellectual language, we're just going around in circles. The fundamental of nation building is your language system and the image of God that you worship. There's never been any protest in Yoruba land that will worship the image of the people that came to come and enslave us. As a matter of fact, if you give them an image that looks like them and say this is God, they will tell you, no, it's not God, it's devil. Those kind of people cannot, with that kind of mindset, we can't move forward. Excuse my language. Àìmọye cultural ọmọ diaspora at the moment. What do I mean? And I'll define it. Children who are Yorubas just by mouth, not by culture, not by language, not by affinity. Those children cannot build Yoruba nation because the Yoruba, because we find who we are. So majority of our and diaspora, Jamaica, Trinidad, Cuba, Haiti, most of them have Yoruba blood flowing in their veins. What is the relationship between the Yorubas in West Africa and the Yorubas outside?
They are our assets, even to the level of military. Because we have them in the American military, we have them in militaries across the Caribbean, we have them in the military even here in the UK. If we can't define ourselves whereby they have an affinity, they have, they have a reason to recognize with with whatever we define the Yoruba to be, then it will be a waste of assets. We have so much assets outside, we have so many ideas outside, but without defining who we are, without defining our worldview, do we want to be a super? I mean, we can blame Fulani to thy kingdom come. They have a worldview. They want to take over West Africa. What's our response? Do we respond by saying, and we'll take well? No. We had the Oyo Empire. Why did it fail? What can we make? What can we do to resurrect it, whereby it becomes a regional power in West Africa, economically, militarily, and every way otherwise? At the moment, I mean, what I find, because that was Europe. Sorry, I'm going on. Round up. What I see with us at the moment, our Yoruba, we talk too much and act very little. Abomire.
Àbówó àbọ̀mọ ẹ ṣeun alàgbà ọdẹdẹ yìí ẹ máa dúró dìgbà tí n bá tún pè yín ni o ẹ jẹ́ kí n tara ṣàṣà kí n lọ sọ́dọ̀ pásítọ̀ Òkè bí ọ̀run ò sí kí lẹ fẹ́ bá a sọ lédè Yorùbá.
A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run, mo kàn fẹ́ parí nǹkan tí mo ń kà lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn tí lédè Yorùbá tí ò bá sí olórí, then bóyá a máa pín oríṣiríṣi ẹgbẹ́ tá a ní sí, a máa yàn wọ́n sípò iṣẹ́ tó máa ṣe, so that gbogbo wọn á ní olórí tí wọ́n báwọn ẹ̀ńsà ṣe strategy wọn tó ń lò nígbà tó ń ṣe program yẹn àtẹlẹ dá ẹnìkan mọ̀ pé lè bá ìlú lórí wọ́n dẹ̀ parí iṣẹ́ wọ́n dẹ̀ ṣe àwọn púpọ̀ ẹ̀dẹ̀ ọmọ yẹn wọ́n dẹ̀ organize ara wọn dáadáa, a ní láti define yẹn. Also a ní láti mọ orú ìjà tá a fẹ́ jà, ṣé Yorùbá nìkan ni àbí Yorùbá àti Ìgbò àbí middle belt àti west àbí middle belt Ìgbò àti Yorùbá, ó dà pé kí ni ẹ ti ń kó má bàa sí confusion, ká mọ bí tá a wà ká mọ bí tá a ń lọ, kí ni ìjà gan tá a fẹ́ jà ní sí, àwọn tó wà nílé ká má bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí change ẹ̀, ká dúró sójú kan ká mọ ìjà tá a ń jà, ká má bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí change definition wa fún wa. Àdẹ́ní diaspora ní bí tá a wà, torí diaspora ni mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀, a gba gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ láàyè, ọgbọ́n ò tán sọ́dọ̀ ẹnìkan, a gba gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ láàyè lẹ́nu diaspora, bọ̀ kán jẹ́ ká lè jọ ṣe pọ̀, bá ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan, ọ̀kan one heart, Yorùbá one heart, tí ọ̀kan bá jẹ́ ọ̀kan náà, èdè wa jẹ́ ọ̀kan náà, but tí ọ̀kan ò bá jẹ́ ọ̀kan náà, kò sí bá ṣe máa parọ́ nínú èdè tó wá dé stage kan, ó máa jákulẹ̀, ó máa fọ́ yágá, ṣùgbọ́n tí ọ̀kan bá jẹ́ ọ̀kan náà, kò sí bá ṣe máa sọ̀rọ̀ tó, èdè wa jẹ́ ọ̀kan náà. If we have one heart, we will have one voice. That is what I want to add, and I encourage everybody in diaspora to try and go together. When the call comes, let us all meet together and carry on. Láti lè ran àwọn tó wà nílé lọ́wọ́, a lè filẹ̀ fún àwa náà nípa tiwa láti kó níbi tó pọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ. Thank you.
Ẹ ṣe pásítọ̀, ó dàbí pé ríran nítorí ìkọ̀kan tẹ́nìkan fi ránṣẹ́ sí mi ní ó ní àwọn tó wà ní diaspora àtàwọn tó wà ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ìjédè wọn yẹra wọn báyìí. Ó ní ìjédè wọn yẹra wọn.
Èdè wa láti yẹra wa tí ọ̀tá àbá ágù, àwọn tó wà nílé ló máa dájú.
Ẹ dúró, ìbéèrè kọ́ ni pé ó ń láti kọ́, right now kò yẹra wọn.
Òun náà là ń sọ ká láti ṣe ni solution là ń sọ náà nípa lórí.
Ẹ kọ́kọ́ acknowledge pé kò yẹra wọn náà, ìbéèrè.
Kò tí yẹra wọn tó, kò tí yẹra wa tó, pẹ̀lú nǹkan táwọn bàbá wa sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan nípa bitterness, ìkorò inú. Wọ́n ti gbàgbé pé kíní kì í ṣe àmì gbogbo Yorùbá ni náà, àwọn yẹn ti take it too personal, kò yẹ kó wà that personal. Tí èèyàn bá ṣẹ̀ lónìí lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ìjàgbara, gbàgbé ẹ̀ pé Yorùbá ló ṣẹ̀, kì í ṣe ìwọ. Tó bá ṣẹ̀ mi lórí ilé Yorùbá people ló ṣẹ̀, kì í ṣe mi. It's not my personal belonging. Gbogbo wa can one try best wa ni. Anybody come on, personal, but I want you to personal. Also, you know, necessary. It's not a personal thing, it's a collective thing, and anybody offends you is offending the collective group, not you. We are working on behalf of Yoruba people, not because on behalf of yourself. So, ẹni tó bá ń ṣe irú nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ irọ́ ló ń pa ó ní nǹkan tó ń wá tó yẹ pé ara ẹ̀ nìkan ló ń wá yẹn tó rò pé òun nìkan.
pásítọ̀ ẹ̀dá kò ṣe rí inú mi dùn fún gbogbo nǹkan ẹ̀sọ́ ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ kí n rán wa létí dọ́tà ń bọ̀ láyé àbẹ́rì kankan wá. ṣe rí ọ̀rọ̀ ìjàngbáradì mistake tá a máa ń ṣe ni wípé à ń láti papọ̀. Mo lè sọ pé àwọn ìjàngbara tí àwa kan jà ní tí ẹrù pa tó mẹ́wàá tá a jà kókó bẹ̀ ni wípé nkí n tó bá ń ṣe fight for the interests of the masses.
Exactly.
But tó bá di wípé wọ́n fẹ́ di tó bá di pọ́n ní àfi tó bá kó ogun wọn papọ̀ n tó ń jẹ́ ìṣọ̀kan ni pé kí ọkàn wa kó máa ro nǹkan kan náà.
Ọkàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni
wọ́n wá sí mítì nìkan o wọ́n wá sí mítì ni ẹ jẹ́ kó ní nǹkan kan náà lọ́kàn. Wọ́n wá sí mítì nìkan wọ́n wá sí mítì nìkan. Understand the Yoruba message. Now ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ béèrè ọ̀rọ̀ tó ṣe pàtàkì ní tá bá wò lọ síbí wọ́n ní àwọn Ìgbò àti Yorùbá lọ̀rọ̀ wọn lè yéra wọn, Haúsá àti Ìgbò ọ̀rọ̀ wọn ò lè yéra wọn, Haúsá àti gbogbo ẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n béèrè ní ọwọ́ mo rò pé ó lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ kí n padà lọ sọ́dọ̀ bàbá àjọ Dr. Mabayọjẹ kílẹ̀ rí bá wa sọ ní Yorùbá.
Inú mi dùn sí gbogbo nǹkan tí mò ń gbọ́. Inú mi dùn, mo ti ń sọ fáwọn èèyàn wa. Àtọdún 5 lèmi àti àwọn Fúlàní ti kí wàhálà bọ̀ táti wọnú ṣòkòtò kan náà. Èmi ò sọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀, Erelu, tí ìbá ṣẹ̀yìn mi ò ní jáde síta. Nítorí àwọn èèyàn wa àbòsí. Ẹni tó bá ṣe nǹkan tó bá mú jáde tó bá jẹ́ pé ó máa di nǹkan tó jẹ́ pé gbogbo á máa benefit from wọ́n máa gbà lọ́tà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ àwọn tó ń gbà lọ́tà yìí wọ́n ò ní nǹkan kan tó fẹ́ fi offer.
Exactly.
Ṣẹ́rí àwa Yorùbá àwa ni biggest problem ara wa. Àwa ni kò sí wọ́n ní kòkòrò tó ń jẹ̀fọ́ inú ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà. The minute tí àwa Yorùbá tá bá sowọ́pọ̀ báyìí ká jẹ́ kan náà kò sí power tó lè defeat wa láyé yìí, but that is our problem. So èmi ò fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀ jù ẹ wọ́n pè mí láti family meeting mo ti dabẹ̀ yẹn náà rú torí èdè wọ́n jà 40 years ago 60 years ago wọ́n sọ lórí family meeting. Ibi tí ṣẹ́ni we Yorubas have a problem. We have a problem. À ń fẹ́ ká wọ ẹni tó lè ṣe nǹkan ká lè jẹ́ kó máa ṣe lọ.
That's the problem.
Ó dẹ̀ máa ṣe.
Òdodo ọ̀rọ̀.
That's the problem.
Ibi tí Chief Awólọ́wọ̀ ibi tó ti jẹ̀bi wọn nìyẹn. The man was doing it, but òun kan tó wá play into their hands. Ìgbà tí ó decide pé òun fẹ́ lọ ṣe leader of opposition lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, that was the beginning of where we got to where we are. Kárí Chief Awólọ́wọ̀ jókòó sí Western region. The best civil servants in Nigeria, they were in the Western region. T.M. Aluko was the chief engineer for Lagos. He left Government Road. He went to the Western region. Mr. Fadausi came back from England. What was he doing? Building dams, creating water. Ìgbà tí wàhálà dé, náà gbé ọmọ wa ni ó jẹ́ ó ṣe, ẹjí ó ṣe. Àwọn Akíntọ́lá ló dá yẹn lẹ̀. Ọmọ wa ni ẹjí ó ṣe. Oríṣiríṣi náà kàn gbé bẹ̀. Ibi tá dé nìyẹn. So èmi ò fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀ jù because oríṣiríṣi àmì ló wà láàrin wọn bí tó bá gbọ́n bí ìbọn ṣe máa lọ ṣe ọ̀gá báyìí ni Yorùbá ló máa wò ṣẹ́rí kòtò kan wà ńbẹ̀ ihò kan wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ńbẹ̀ ibẹ̀ lẹ́kún gbà wọlé everybody mọ̀ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ekun gbà wọlé kí ló kọ́ ẹ pẹ̀lú kòtò ṣoṣe kínní I mean so àìmí kàn fẹ́ kí máa wòran ni ọ̀rọ̀ àwa Yorùbá.
ẹ lè máa wòran ṣe rí dókítà ẹ lè máa wòran ṣe rí gbogbo jàǹgbára tẹ̀ ń jà ìmí tá a lè sọ àtowó tẹ̀ ń ná àdúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Olódùmarè kì í ṣe owó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bọ́ sórí GoFundMe ṣe rí kókó ọ̀rọ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ pásítọ̀ Òkè bí ọ̀run òsì àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ kan tán sọ ṣe pàtàkì ṣe rí ìwà pé Erelu ti wà bẹ̀ láti bí 400 years pásítọ̀ èdè ní 5 minutes kò relevant the ministry of life nígbà tí Mósè èmi ò mọ Bíbélì o ìgbà kan Mósè ló ṣe ń gbòòyà wọn tún mú Jésù wá so ẹ jẹ́ kí n tẹ̀síwájú kí n pe alàgbà kan kí tó pe alàgbà Abba Kristi lolú ẹ jẹ́ kí n pe alàgbà ọ̀dẹ́dẹ̀ yìí kọ́ ṣé wà ń bẹ̀ láti sọ̀rọ̀ ń sìn mo fún ní ìṣẹ́jú 5.
ṣé màmá wa mo kí gbogbo ilé o àgbà ò lè tán lórí ilẹ̀ kú bó ṣe kó lè dáa torí pé kí ni ìjà yìí àjà tán ni generation kọ̀ọ̀kan ló gbọ́dọ̀ máa jà á. Nǹkan tí mo kàn fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí pàápàá jùlọ ni pé gẹ́gẹ́ bí bàbá ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn kí ni pàtó ajàjàǹgbara kí la ní lọ́kàn ká tó sọ pé ohun tí àwọn èèyàn wa wà nú ẹ̀ yìí kò tẹ́ wa lọ́rùn torí ọ̀pọ̀ mìíràn àwọn ẹlòmíì káyé mọ̀ mí kọ́ mọ̀ pé mo wà ń bẹ̀ kémi náà pẹ̀lú ló gbẹ́lòmíì débẹ̀ tàbí èrò ọkàn pé tí n bá lè jáde wọ́n lè fi mí ṣe olórí tàbí èmi gan mo fẹ́ ṣe olórí ṣùgbọ́n jẹ́ kọ́kọ́ jáde ná so èròǹgbà olúkúlùkù ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni àmọ́ ó ní kí èpò àti àlìkámà kán máa dàgbà pọ̀ tó bá dọjọ́ kórè àáyọ̀ sọ́tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ torí ẹlòmíì àjàjàgbara míì tọkàntọkàn ló fi ń ṣe ṣùgbọ́n níbi àwọn abánijẹ́ àwọn kó máa da àwọn abínú ẹni àtàwọn kó dàrú ohun tí wọn ò mọ̀ nípa ìlọ́mọ ló máa sọ káàkiri bó ṣe ń gbé sókè ọ̀tọ̀ nípa máa sọ lápá kejì divide and rule kò dẹ̀ lè jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú gẹ́gẹ́ bí alàgbà pásítọ̀ Òkè bí ọ̀run kò sí tí wọ́n bá débi ẹgbẹ́ báyìí nínú àwa táwa ní diaspora yìí tẹ́ bá sọ pé gbéwé kan ránṣẹ́ síwájú fún ẹ̀bẹ̀ fún nǹkan kan tàbí òmíràn àwọn ẹgbẹ́ kan àwọn apá kan ti lọ bẹ̀ torí pé kí ni àwọn náà lè ní nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe lọ́nà ọ̀tọ̀ kí wọ́n náà fẹ́ ní tó fẹ́ ṣe lọ́nà ọ̀tọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n níwọ̀n ìgbà tó bá ti jẹ́ pé èròǹgbà rere ká lè fi gba àwọn èèyàn là ká lè fi fún àwọn èèyàn ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ kí ìrọ̀rùn lè dé bá ènìyàn ẹ jẹ́ kó máa ṣe lọ káwa náà máa ṣe tiwa lọ torí ọgbọ́n òpin síbì kan. àmọ́ ohun tí mo fẹ́ fi ká díẹ̀ ni wípé owó ni kẹ̀kẹ́ ìyìn rere o a lè rẹ́ni tó gbẹ̀tọ̀ tó lọ́kàn pé ṣé towó lásán ni ṣé kí lowó fẹ́ ṣe a máa gbìyànjú a máa tiraka ṣùgbọ́n máa sọ fún yín pé tí owó bá pẹ̀lú tó kún amúnirìn jìnnà torí gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn aláwọ̀ dúdú African bíbáyìí àtàwọn Asian àtàwọn Jew tábàwò community mẹ́ta yẹn bó ṣe ń jà fún ẹ̀tọ́ ara wọn ó yàtọ̀ síra wọn ṣùgbọ́n kankan èròjà ìṣebẹ̀ owó ló jẹ́ tí kan fi jù kan lọ torí ìdí èyí tá a bá rí àwọn tí wọ́n ń fowó ràn èèyàn lọ́wọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká máa sọ fún wọn pé ẹ ṣe ẹ kú iṣẹ́ takuntakun ká máa gbà àwọn lámọ̀ràn kó máa ṣe ó wá kù sáwọn tó ń lò ó lọ́wọ́ bó ṣe ṣe wọ́n ṣe eré o wọ́n ṣe eré o á bá ń bẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ ká máa rọ àwọn èèyàn pé owó dára ó dẹ̀ máa gbé wa débi tá a bá dé ó máa kún iṣẹ́ yẹn ó máa jẹ́ kó lè yá kò sí bá a ṣe tiraka tó tá a bá rí owó pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ á bá débì kan torí tá a bá wo iṣẹ́ tẹ̀.
Wọ́n alàgbà ọdẹ́dẹ̀ yìí ẹ ti sọ̀rọ̀ owó àwọn tó bá fẹ́ máa kébò sí owó kan bá channel wọn kan máa ti lọ kébò sí lọ́hùn. Àwa kan ti pẹ́ ǹdí àwọn tó ń collect owó tá a rojú tú ẹ̀. I repeat, the last 1 year, how much has been collected on this freedom fighting? Has anybody disclosed how much? And what they've done with it? Let me put this to you. Let me put this to you. Minister, Mama sọ fún yàn tó rí yàn fólúkálùkù yàtọ̀. Ìwọ tó fẹ́ máa kébò sí owó, orí ló pè é fún ẹ. Èmi strategy ni tèmi. That is, give me a documented proposal of what you are looking for money for. Let me know how much. Your time has gone. I don't engage in dialogue on my program. I beg. Now, let me make it quite clear. Now, for me, it is very important worldwide. You don't start collecting money without knowing how much you're looking for. You don't. And far and wide, I repeat, there are pockets of money worldwide. When you organize yourself well to support your freedom fighting, ẹnìkan ló sọ àwọn Nadeco òní help ti Sweden. I can list many, including ti Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ṣe. Please, tí yóò bá ní pé wọ́n fẹ́ máa ṣe bí, I'm very sorry, bí ti jungle. Wọ́n ní l'account. Wọ́n máa mórúkọ Erelu, wọ́n máa dáwó síbẹ̀. Wọ́n ní torí pé àwọn ò lè ṣe account. Kò sọ́nà ń bẹ̀. Kò sọ́nà ń bẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú. Like I said, ẹ jẹ́ ń pé alàgbà Abba Christy Lolúwa. Don't, before you come in, alàgbà. As I said, ẹni tó bá fẹ́ máa kébò sí owó, tó bá pè yẹn lọ́lọ́run rán máa ké lọ. Ṣó ti yé yín? Ó ní tọ́lọ́run olúkálùkù. Ẹlòmíì, aràn sí deliverance ministry, owó ló máa fi deliver. Ẹlòmíì, ipò ló máa fi deliver. Ẹlòmíì, ibi tẹ́sẹ̀ dé tí owó yẹn máa ti jáde àfi tẹ́ bá tó bó ṣe yẹ kẹ́ ẹ tó kọ́bọ̀ kò ní fún yín. Tó ẹ tẹ̀síwájú alàgbà Abba Christy Lolú.
Ẹ ṣé o màmá wa Erelu, àjíǹde ara máa jẹ́ o. Ẹ ṣé kú ẹ̀kọ́ àjọ àti ètò àti gbogbo ẹ̀. Mo sì kí gbogbo àwọn àgbàlagbà tí wọ́n ti sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú mi àti gbogbo wa tá a wà ní ìkàlẹ̀ lálẹ́ yìí. Mo ti kọ́gbọ́n púpọ̀ nínú ohun tí àwọn tí wọ́n ti sọ̀rọ̀ síwájú ti sọ. Èmi fẹ́ fi díẹ̀ kún ní from the perspective of an historian. Part of what I've noticed, which I would like to flag up, is the fact that as beautiful as this kind of occasion is, we would always have divergences of opinion and passion. People should learn to realize that nobody has a monopoly of the solution. Do not exclude any other person's solution. Do not insult. Do not alienate other people by the kinds of languages you speak. And part of, as I've said to you before, Erelu, part of the things that tend to divide us in a very ugly manner is the issue of religion. People get so wound up. There may not even be God. So where will we put it if there's no God? We've got enough intelligence to organize ourselves. And people talk about history. People select, choose aspects of history and use it to push ideas, and it's not actually very valid. Somebody spoke about the fact that maybe Japanese did away with people converted to Christianity. That is genocide, okay? We must learn, and this is one of the first important points I want to make, and this occurs to me every time I listen to people speak. We are all human beings first and foremost. The reason why we have a problem is that we're being misled and mismanaged. When Nigeria was good enough and people's basic needs were met, people didn't realize they were Igbo or Hausa or whatever. I was born in northern Nigeria, I was born in Bida. People are born all over the place. But when the basics are in place, we will organize and cooperate together. But when we have such low level of leadership, that the most basic of things are not even guaranteed, people's life are not guaranteed, that's when everybody remembers that, oh, I'm not Yoruba, or I'm Yoruba, or I'm Igbo. So we need to be talking about the quality of leadership. If we want to exit as a nation, let's exit. If we want to stay and restructure, let's do so. There is no one solution. There is no one bullet. There's no silver bullet that will solve this. That's another problem we have as people of color. We think we will shoot one gun and we will solve the problem. After you cross a hurdle, there will be a new hurdle. When we get to the Yoruba nation, if that's where we're going, you will face the whole set of problems all over again. So we should get ourselves ready. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I would like to suggest, even if it's not a very popular thing, any idea that excludes another person, that denies the other person his humanity, is not going to fly at the end of the day. We misconstrue the fact that some small elites misrepresent everybody. If you go to the Hausa Fulani on the street, the mass of them are suffering just as the Yoruba person is suffering. So we must design an emancipation that delivers everybody. That's when we will have peace.
Thank you.
Nigeria is not working properly as it is, but let's speak. Not because I love Nigeria, I'm not fascinated by anything. If we want to break up into 30, let's go on and break up into 30. But let's do it without, first, let's think. And I agree with you about money. When people start going for money, it's an opportunity to suspend their brains. Think first, find a solution, and you will either not need money or money will come to aid that idea. When you go after money before solution, you are a thief. You're just looking to enrich yourself. I'm not speaking to anybody in particular. I'm just speaking generally. So 2 basic ideas I would like to drop. Anything we're going to consider as the way forward must recognize everybody's humanity, even that of the Fulani man, and design it in such a way that everybody will be saved. Or at the end of the day, we're fooling ourselves. After we finish killing that party, another party will come and we'll still be fighting. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much indeed, Alagba. Let me sort of do a quick correction. At some point, one of the speakers said, "Àwọn BC bastard no ko mini pe ọmọ àlè ni wọ́n," saying pé àwọn look like us more by virtue of pé wọ́n ti wà alienated from us. Ní 2014, Ifá kan sọ fún wa, nígbà tá a dá fàyìn, ó sọ wípé ó ní ọmọ àlè ó ló máa dojú kọ ọmọ ọkọ kí Yorùbá tó lè rojú tulé ayé ẹ̀. Kí ló ń jẹ́ ọmọ àlè? Ọmọ àlè ni ẹni tó mọ tó yẹ kó ṣe tí ò ṣe é láti jẹ́ kí ìran Oòduà tẹ̀síwájú. Ọmọ àlè nìyẹn. Ọmọ ọkọ ni ẹni tí ó mọ ohun tí ó máa mú ìran Oòduà tẹ̀síwájú, tó dẹ̀ fi gbogbo agbára bíi pásítọ̀ Òkèbíọ̀run Òsínsìn tó fi gbogbo agbára tó fi ṣe é. Òun lọmọ ọkọ. Kò míì pé ẹni tó bí ìṣẹ́rí Yorùbá yìí nǹkan ńlá ni, àti pé bàbá ń sọ̀rọ̀. Mo wá dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín alàgbà Kristi Lolú àti alàgbà Ọ̀dẹ́dẹ̀. Ṣẹ́rí inú ètò tèmi mo ti rí àwọn ọgbọ́n tó ti jáde ńbẹ̀. Tọ́gbọ́n bá ti jáde nínú ètò mi àbí ìmọ̀ bá ti jáde nínú ètò, ẹni tó bá rí kó lọ mú lò. Mo ti sọ fún yín, èmi ni mo dá Fátífá ní kí n gbé àgbà tí kò lè tán nílẹ̀ Oòduà kí n gbé kalẹ̀. Èmi ni mo dá fa, mo dáadáa mi pé yàn. Mínísítírì tèmi lélẹ́yìí. Kristẹni kan ó sọ fún mi, ó ní, "Madam, you've always had a deliverance ministry." Èmi ò ṣe nǹkan kan láti béèrè. Ibi orí ètò yìí láti rí ọ̀rọ̀ constitution tó ṣe nẹ́nẹ́nẹ́ tí mo kọ rìpọ́ọ̀tù àdèríbi tó délé ní. So alàgbà pásítọ̀ Òkèbíọ̀run Òsì sọ àwọn oríṣiríṣi ọ̀rọ̀ tó wúlò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ètò bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí Yorùbá mọ bó ṣe yẹ kó rí. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n fún ilé example. Nígbà kan Anglican Church, mi ní quote iye tí wọ́n ring fenced. Èmi tí ń ṣòṣèlú tipẹ́. owó rẹpẹtẹ náà invest nígbà táwọn obìnrin Gẹ̀ẹ́sì tó ń sọ pé kó máa ordain àwọn as Anglican ministers wọ́n dẹ̀ invest owó yẹn wọ́n ní ká contact wọn ní Nàìjíríà bóyá ara àwọn obìnrin tó fẹ́ di rẹ́fúrẹ́nì àwọn ọkùnrin ló kọ́kọ́ sọ fún wa pé ilé ọkọ àwọn obìnrin Yorùbá àwọn obìnrin Nàìjíríà wọ́n fọ ilé ọkọ ṣeré o wọ́n fi ilé ọkọ ṣeré o gbòòyà náà kó àwọn obìnrin kan síwájú ọkọ àwọn confess ìyá yáàdì kan náà ń pa àwọn ìyá yáàdì ṣáwa nìyẹn gbogbo owó yẹn perish ó di kínní èmi tí mò ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ yìí mo gba gbogbo Enugu House of Assembly lálejò in my capacity as òṣèlú mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ tán bá wá mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ tí DFID ṣe Ọlọ́run kó fọ̀run kẹta Yòṣítù Yorùbá ní pẹ́kà a tún dìde àwa náà tún lọ sí ìlú Enugu mi débẹ̀ rí wọ́n sọ pé bọ́n ṣe ń ṣe fáwọn wíìdù àwọn rèé mo mọ̀ ń tá a ṣe DFID ní wọn máa lọ bó sí ẹ lọ́wọ́ wo kíní kan wá fáwọn tí ò ní kankan lọ́wọ́ wọn máa pariwo ránù. Please let Yoruba go and do exactly what you're saying. Alàgbà Kristi Lolú Yoruba don't think first. Wọ́n bá ti ń think owó ló kọ́ máa há orí wọn owó ló máa kọ́kọ́ máa há orí wọn owó please ẹbí wọn pèlò tẹ bá ti rẹ́ni tó in the last 2 years tó ti ń collect owó ìjàngbara ẹ béèrè lọ́wọ́ wọn èlò náà collect and what have they done with it? We are talking pé Buhari ò transparent kò sí accountability kò sí kinní kan ẹ̀yin fúnra yín kọ́ where is your accountability? wọ́n làwọn wówó wọ́n máa fi ṣe kinní kan èèlò gangan lẹ ní ìdíwọ̀n mọ̀ ẹ má bínú méjì bọ́ ṣe bí èmi nìyẹn èmi ò kí ń báyọ̀ dá sí nǹkan tó mọye tó ń wá akànlè máa forí jágbó ó dẹ̀ máa ń dájà lẹ̀ ní so but as I said ẹni tó bá pè ní ìpè pé owó ni kó máa bá àwọn tó bá ń jàjà gbára wá Olódùmarè á fún lágbára kó máa rówó náà collect fún wọn no problem àwa tán bá ní ọgbọ́n ní ká bá wọn wá tó rà mọ̀ pé tí ọgbọ́n yẹn tán bá ti di òkè tí ẹ̀ tán àmọ́ bí tí ọgbọ́n yẹn ti máa já owó kalẹ̀ ìyẹn là á máa tọ̀ ilé ayé tá a wà àgbẹ̀dẹ ṣe sọ ọwọ́ ọ̀tún rẹ̀ ó ń ṣiṣẹ́ tiẹ̀ ọwọ́ òsì rẹ̀ ó ń ṣiṣẹ́ tiẹ̀ ọ̀tún wẹ̀ òsì òsì wẹ̀ ọ̀tún ó ní pásítọ̀ òkè bí ọ̀hún sọ ẹ̀ tó bá mọ̀ náà máa kébò sí owó kó máa ké àwa tá a bá mọ̀ náà pé tá a bá dì í dáadáa báyìí ló ṣe máa rí àwa náà máa ké ṣé bóun lájọ ń wá kárẹ́ tó máa mọ́wọ́ gidi lẹ̀ kárẹ́ tó máa ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wíre gbé 5,000 naira kiri ká máa wò ó ìkànṣá ló máa ṣe kan yóò dáa fún wa tó pọ̀. Now ẹ jẹ́ kí n tẹ̀síwájú. Is there anybody else that needs to share thoughts? Mò ń wò ó Bùnmi S wà ń bíbá mi mẹ́ni tó ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ Azeez Ọláìdé látòdìdí Mauritania alàgbà Azeez láti Mauritania kí lẹ rí bá wa dá sínú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí o. Alàgbà Ọláìdé láti Mauritania.
Ẹ kálẹ́ màmá mi. Ẹ ra mà. A dúpẹ́ màmá mi. Ẹ dẹ̀ kú ètò náà mà. Kò ní sú yín kò ní rẹ̀ yín mà.
Ṣé kò sí rédíò ọ̀nà lọ́dọ̀ yín o torí mò ń gbọ́ rédíò.
Ẹ wo ẹ má bínú.
Mò ń gbọ́.
Mi ò ní ọ̀rọ̀ púpọ̀ torí wípé ó ní ìfẹ́ là kọjá òfin. Ìfẹ́ ni a nídìí níbi ìrìn àjò tá à ń rìn màmá mi bí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ ṣe sọ bí àwọn pásítọ̀ náà dẹ̀ ṣe sọ kájọ fọwọ́ wẹwọ́ lọ́wọ́ ní ká fọwọ́ ọ̀tún wẹ òsì lọ́wọ́ fi ń mọ́ tó ń tá nídìí ní ìfẹ́ ká má fi wò wípé mi ò bí lè ṣe àní délẹ̀ lérí báyẹn mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ wípé ọ̀nà tá a wà yìí a máa délẹ̀ lérí lágbára Ọlọ́run inú mi dẹ̀ dùn gidi pẹ̀lú àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìsítí tí mo ti ń gbọ́ látàárọ̀ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ́ wípé tá a bá mú lò a máa délẹ̀ ìlérí mo kí yín màmá mi ò lọ́rọ̀ púpọ̀ mà.
Dúpẹ́ ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ ọ̀wọ́ ẹ bá mi ká àwọn ará Mauritania ǹjẹ́ ara ẹni tó tún fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí fi àdàgbà ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kọ́ àwọn nǹkan tí ó jáde kí n kà síta fún wa Ṣàrẹ́ tó tún fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ nínú wa kí n tó ṣe ń tà ń pè ní summary. Anybody with anything to say?
Just to sorry, Erelu.
Ẹ tẹ̀síwájú. Ẹ ṣé.
Money, just to thank you and to thank all of you, don't forget, gbogbo Yorùbá ní problems, because there are more other people's problems. You are far better than many other people. So you are far better than people from the south side, because I belong there. You are far better than the Igbos. You are far better than, like I've said earlier, I don't mean to flatter Yorubas. Yorubas are more than anybody prepared, more prepared for freedom than any other person. And that is why the colonialist power fear Yorubas the more.
Ẹ ṣé, mo dúpẹ́. Anybody else don't to first sọ kí n tó ka àwọn summary points?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, mo kàn fẹ́ clarify nǹkan tí mo sọ ní pé most of wọn mọ tá à ń bí sílùú pé they are cultural bastards. It's a cultural thing. It's nothing to do pé bóyá ẹ tó bí wọn àbẹ tí ò bí wọn. Inú mi dẹ̀ dùn pé bá mi define nǹkan tí mo rí pẹ̀lú ẹ̀. Because nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ni pé people take it for granted that, you know, if you don't actively teach your children your culture, will automatically get on them. Kò dẹ̀ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn rí. Nǹkan tí yàn bá fi kọ́ ọmọ lọ́mọ máa mọ̀. And just to clarify the other bit about the Japanese, èèyàn máa ń kọ́ ìṣe wò ni. Just the same way tí ẹ̀wọ̀n Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ṣe fẹ́ bọ́ ṣe colonize wa tó fẹ́ kó wa lẹ́rú. They did the same thing to the Chinese. They did the same thing to the Asiatics. What I'm saying is that the Asiatics did something which we haven't done, and that is the intellectualizing of language. So nǹkan méjì tí mo fẹ́ sọ ní àbọ̀ mi yẹn.
Àbọ̀wọ́ àbọ̀mọ́. Ẹ ṣeun. Ṣàrẹ́ tó tún fẹ́ sọ nǹkan kan. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ka àwọn nǹkan tó jáde ní àṣálẹ́ yìí ni mo máa pè lọ́dọ̀ mi. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́, kókó ni pé àrìnpọ̀ ejò òun ni kí ni òun ló ń yọ wá lẹ́nu. Mo rí wípé wọ́n tẹ̀ mọ́ wa létí nínú ètò yìí pé ó ṣe pàtàkì ká ní ìfọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀. It's very important that we are walking in the same direction. Now, this direction, do we know? Have we agreed? Nígbà tí àwọn ọmọ ejò tán fẹ́ rìn papọ̀, ọ̀nà bo ni wọ́n fẹ́ dorí kọ, ṣé wọ́n mọ bẹ́ẹ̀? Àwọn kan ní àfi ká gbàgbé restructuring yẹn pátápátá o. Àwọn kan ní ibi tá ń lọ yìí, báwo ló ṣe máa rí? Ó dàbí ẹni pé number 1 point yẹn kò tí ṣiṣẹ́ o. Àti ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ sí rìn papọ̀ o. Wọ́n fi yé wa wípé olórí láti wà. Now, ọ̀rọ̀ olórí inú ọgbọ́n láti wà. Olórí inú ìmọ̀ láti wà. Olórí inú òye láti wà. Olórí nínú àjòjòwò láti wà. Àwọn tó jẹ́ pé àjò pẹ̀lú kí lẹ fẹ́, ẹ máa jẹun ni, ẹ máa mu ni, ẹ ń wówó ni, àwọn kan láti wà bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n tẹ̀ mọ́ wa létí pé ó ṣe pàtàkì ká ṣèrànlọ́wọ́ fún àwọn tó ń jìjàǹgbara. A tún fi yé wa wípé standard ni pé aláti ní ojú tá a fi ń wo irú àwọn tó yẹ kán máa kópa nínú àwọn ètò wọ̀nyí. A fi yé wa pé ká má ní dáríjì ìyàn ọdún kan kó ṣe máa gbóná nítorí pé a ti sọ̀rọ̀ kan síra wa níbi kan tá a ti jà, a fẹ́ bára wa ṣe a tún fi yé wa wípé àwọn alàgbà wa kan ní àwọn ní wọ́n dárúkọ arákùnrin kan wọ́n náà ti gbàgbé ẹ̀ pátápátá wọ́n gbàgbé ẹ̀ kódà wọ́n ti gbàgbé Akíntọ́lá gan wọ́n gbàgbé Akíntọ́lá pátá pọ̀rọ̀ngbọ̀dọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti pàdé wọ́n ti gbàgbé ẹ̀ ká tó sọ Abba àti Macaulay nǹkankan ẹni tó wà ń bẹ̀ ni wípé a tún fi ń yé wa wípé tá a bá fẹ́ rójú tú ọ̀nà yìí o à ń láti nífẹ̀ẹ́ o èmi olóòṣà èmi kinní kan ọ̀ràn yẹn kọ́ lọ́ràn o kò sẹ́ńtì ìfẹ́ tó jẹ́ ọ̀tá ẹ̀ kò dẹ̀ sẹ́ni tó gbọ́dọ̀ ṣọ̀tá ìfẹ́ ò bá ẹ̀sìn lọ a fi ṣàlàyé pé wẹ́ẹ́rú prophet ẹ jẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ kékeré kan fún yín prophet Oseki ìtàtàn sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn Olódùmarè kó jẹ́ ká máa mọ̀ wá hù ipò ẹni tí wọ́n fi sí in charge area bí tán ń gbé ni mí tí mo ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún ìjọba ni mo ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ the government of United Kingdom ní agbègbè kan wọ́n wá kọ̀wé wá fún mi wọ́n ní arákùnrin kan àwọn ọmọ tó ń ṣọ̀tá ẹ̀ àfikò láago 5, 6 àbí 7 ṣá àfikò máa lúlú láràárọ̀ kó máa kọrin kó máa jó kó máa gbàdúrà àwọn dẹ̀ ti sọ fún títí kò gbọ́ therefore ká ló wá bá ṣe fẹ́ sọ fọkùnrin yẹn ká lòfin pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ ìyẹn prophet tí èmi àti ẹ̀ tá a sì ń sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ni o ìdí iṣẹ́ ni mo ti pàdé wọn o I was working for a government and area wọn ní ibẹ̀ ni iṣẹ́ yẹn wà náà kọ̀wé rẹpẹtẹ wá Ọlọ́run ni ò jẹ́ kí n ti ṣe ohun tí ò dá nígbà yẹn ṣùgbọ́n lálá tó lọ sókè ilẹ̀ ló ń bọ̀ ìfẹ́ ni o ìfẹ́ torí prophet bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí yẹn pé kó má pe Jésù ẹ gbàgbé ẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n èmi àti ẹ̀ àjọ ń sọ̀rọ̀ ó gbà mí pé bó ṣe rí ló ṣe rí jàre ìyá kan olóòṣà ṣe rí ìfẹ́ làjọ fi ń ṣe. Tẹ̀síwájú ká tún ṣàlàyé fúnra wa wípé àwọn nǹkan tó ṣì rújú òun ni bó la fẹ́ ìjàngbara yìí tí èmi rí tó jẹ́ point tó important we don't seem to have an agreed direction. Wọ́n dẹ̀ rán wa létí pé àmọ́ iye ara wa àwa Yorùbá mo fẹ́ kí àwọn alàgbà wa kọ́nẹ̀ lẹ́yìn mo pe òṣèlú kan níjẹta ìṣèlú yẹn wọ́n ti ṣe òṣèlú tipẹ́tipẹ́ o ẹni tí ṣe òṣèlú tipẹ́tipẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n area Calabar ni wọ́n wà wọ́n ní gbogbo ilé àwọn òṣèlú tó wà ní Calabar náà mú gbogbo ẹ̀ náà dáná sun àwọn ẹ̀sà wọ́n dáná sun àfi àwọn bí irú ẹni tí mò ń sọ yìí wọ́n gba ẹ̀gbẹ́ ilé ẹ̀ wọ́n ṣe kankan ó lóun kúnlẹ̀ òun bẹ̀ wọ́n ní kóun dìde ó dẹ̀ ti ṣòṣèlú sẹ́yìn ẹ̀ń tá à ń sọ náà ni wípé ó ṣe pàtàkì àwọn òṣèlú wọ̀nyí ní ọ̀dọ̀ wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wa ń fọwọ́ra wọn lórí ni à ń fọwọ́ra wọn lórí tán bá ní gọ́fúnà ń bọ̀ àkíwọ́ ládùúgbò àlọ́gbèlú síta àwọn obìnrin wọn máa rèdí kéré náà máa rèdí pé mo tiẹ̀ wọ́n ti gọ́fúnà báyìí wọ́n á tún máa lọ ya kí lórúkọ ẹ̀ ń jẹ́ wọ́n máa ya fọ́tò selfie ká tó wí wọ́n ti jù sórí Facebook ṣe rí wọ́n tún ní ká má kó ọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ọba sí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kò kà wọ́n baálẹ̀ sí tó kàn wọ́n bẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ kí n dánu dúró tabárí ẹlòmíì tó tún rí nǹkan míì tó jáde nínú ìjíròrò yìí ẹ dákun ẹ bá mi fi kún kí la tún rí tí mi ò sọ tó jáde nínú ìjíròrò yìí a ti sọ pé ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn kọ́ ni tá à ń bá lò yìí wọ́n ti sọ pé ká jọ èdè tá a fi ń ronú ìwà tá à ń hù kó bá ohun tí ẹni tá a pera ṣé Yorùbá ni wá ni ṣé Kàlàmì ni wá ni ṣé kí ni wá ẹ jẹ́ ń dánu dúró bóyá ta la rí tó fẹ́ bá mi fi kún o ní tá a sọ kalẹ̀ yìí anybody wants to add any addition àbí mo ti ṣàlàyé gbogbo bó ṣe rí pastor you want to add anything.
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doctor, do you want to add anything to the points I've raised?
Mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ sọ because ọ̀rọ̀ àwa Yorùbá ó jẹ mí lọ́kàn púpọ̀. Ó dàbí èèyàn tí Ọlọ́run fún ní gbogbo opportunity tí ò fara gbé àwọn opportunity tí Ọlọ́run fún kó fi gbé rẹ̀ lọ sí ibi tó yẹ kí òun gan wà. Ibi tá à ń lọ jìn tí mo kàn fẹ́ sọ ni pé àwa la mọ ibi tá à ń lọ. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi restructuring ká fi bò lórí. Restructuring làwọn òyìnbó náà máa gbà because tá bá kúrò nídìí restructuring àwọn Faransé wọ́n máa wò pé Yorùbá máa wà ń bẹ̀ yẹn o. Ṣé ìṣe pé àwọn ará bíi ń bó oníbàárà wọn ń bó lè bọ̀ already àwọn Faransé wọ́n ti dá rédíò fáwọn Fúlàní ní òrùmọ̀ bóyá ẹ gbọ́n pẹ̀. Wọ́n ti bẹ̀ sí broadcast so ká ṣọ́ra gidi ẹ jọ. Èmi ti kígbe ohun mi ti há pé restructuring ni ká fi gba ibi tá a fẹ́ gbà ká fi gbàwọ òmìnira ká ní control lórí future ara wa. Ibi tí mo fẹ́ ká jókòó sí nìyẹn. Àwa la mọ ibi tá à ń lọ. Restructuring. Mi ò fẹ́ sọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ.
Ẹ ṣeun bí tí dókítà sọ̀rọ̀ sí yẹn, òyìnbó tá à ń lò ní, mo mọ̀ pé àtà ti pẹ́ nílùú Gẹ̀ẹ́sì, every time lè máa gbọ́, every department, wọ́n ní we are reorganization. Yẹn, àìmọye àwọn tó máa yọ níṣẹ́ nídìí reorganization. Ń wọ́n máa fi gbé plan yẹn dé, ẹ̀kọ́ ní pé iṣẹ́ yìí ó ti yí padà ní àmọ́ ti yọ sọnù. Ṣọ́rọ̀ mi ti yé yín. Reorganize èdè náà ní èdè bí Nàìjíríà ṣe wá sí bẹ́ẹ̀ pé ní cessation bẹ́ẹ̀ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ you have to restructure ara yín ní. It means everybody will separate. There's a structure. The structure now is called Nigeria. The structure now 36 states. The structure now is presidential. So that's the structure. Any deviation from that means you have to restructure yourself. So, èdè náà ni Olódùmarè jẹ́ kó yé wa. Àwọn àtúntò ni o. Àti bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sí. Kí ni tí àtúnrẹ́ tó fẹ́ dá sí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí? Ẹ̀bẹ̀ tí àwọn dókítà ń bẹ̀ wá ni pé ẹ jẹ́ ká gbìyànjú o. Torí bá ṣe ń tẹ̀lé ìrìn àjò tá à ń rìn yìí. Tàbá ní àfi ká yọra wa kúrò nú ẹ̀. Ọ̀nà wo lẹ fẹ́ gbà tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá tuntun kẹ́ tó yọra yín? Ìbéèrè táwọn ń béèrè nìyẹn. Ọ̀nà wo lẹ fẹ́ gbé gbà tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá tuntun kẹ́ tó yọra yín? Nítorí lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí èmi náà ti sọ gbèsè tí gbogbo wa jẹ pásítọ̀ kébí ọ̀run ò sí àwọn náà máa san. Wọ́n bá san tán wọ́n lè lọ yọ gbogbo Yorùbá kó nú bẹ̀ Lódùmarè á fún yín ṣe. Now, èwo ló tún kù tí.
Àmì Ọlọ́run á pèsè o.
Erelu.
Mo jẹ́ yín.
Erelu.
Mo jẹ́ yín.
Ẹ jẹ́ kí n sọ kinní kan.
Yes.
Màmá mi máa ń pa òwe kan.
Yes.
Màá pa òwe yẹn lẹ́kìtì, màá dẹ̀ tún túmọ̀ ẹ̀.
Okay.
Iná lọ́ni torí ọjọ́ omi ọ̀ràn pípọ́n.
Kéèmí jẹ́ wà.
Èèyàn máa ń wá èèyàn kúnra ni nítorí ọjọ́ omi ọ̀rọ̀ pípọ́n. Omi ọ̀rọ̀ pípọ́n yẹn tó bá ń kọ́ ilé ìjú sí mi jù sí ọ. Àwọn ilé mud huts yẹn. Nobody builds a mud hut without needing people. Ẹnìkan á ju amọ̀ yẹn sí ẹnìkejì á jù sẹ́nìkẹta á jù sẹ́nìkẹrin. Wọ́n á tó bí 10 àbí 20 kó tó kan ẹni tó máa gbé sórí ara tó máa fi wá di ilé. I just have to say this because I was so distressed. I was so upset. Mo lọ sórí chat, mo kọ nǹkan kan síbẹ̀ bí ọkàn tèmi ṣe rí nìyẹn. you cannot say you are building up towards Yoruba nation and be using language like bastard. Who, Talo, I know Irelu explained it. I don't accept that explanation because if it ti buy me ó yàtọ̀. Àwọn ọmọ tí mo bí sí London, tí mo gbìyànjú láti kọ́, tí mo mọ bí mo ṣe kọ́ wọn. Kẹ́nìkan wá máa sọ fún mi pé bastards ni wọ́n. I can't take that. Àwọn ọmọ wà ní Nàìjíríà tó yẹ pé Yorùbá táwọn ọmọ tèmi tí mo train nílùú òyìnbó ń sọ, wọn ò lè sọ. Táwọn òbí wọn máa sọ pé speak in English, speak in English. Ní Nàìjíríà níbẹ̀, lára wọn náà làwọn tó ń jà fún Yorùbá nation yìí, tí mo mọ̀. So we cannot use such language. It alienates people. Ó máa ń jẹ́ káwọn èèyàn sá fún wa ni. I said something earlier. Àgbájọwọ́ la fi ń sọ̀yà. Ọwọ́ kan ò gbẹ́rù dórí. À ń láti wára wa kúnra wa ni. Tá a bá sọ pé Kadayo Koiki, I've known him for many, many years, but we reconnected recently. Ó lérí pé October 1 làwọn máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ Yorùbá nation by fire by force. Ṣọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹ̀ báyìí. I'm not mocking him. I'm just saying some things are just not realistic. Before we go on a journey, we must have a plan. Àwa tá fẹ́ jọ rìnrìn àjò yẹn. Ìgbà tá fẹ́ lọ ṣe gbogbo kíní tá ṣe lórí Dámilọ́lá Taylor, àmọ́ra wa. Kò dẹ̀ sí kankan nínú wa tó dá ara wa. Ìgbà tá fẹ́ lọ ṣe tàwọn ẹlẹ́ran ọ̀gbẹ́, àmọ́ra wa Irelu. Back me up. Àmọ́ra wa àtijọ́ sọ, àdẹ̀jọ́ lérí pa àjọ máa wà ńbẹ̀, kò dẹ̀ sí kankan nínú wa tí ò wá. That is a movement. Not this I didn't hear you use any language negative for anybody that wasn't interested. Even àwọn tó ń lálí wa níbi tá a ti ń kọrin, tá a ti ń sun ẹkún. We were crying. Táwọn tó ń gbọ́ mi ò bá mọ̀, à ń sun ẹkún, a dẹ̀ ń gba àdúrà, a dẹ̀ ń kọrin. A sọ pé ẹnìkan oníṣẹ̀ṣe, ẹnìkan aládùúrà, ẹnìkan àjẹ́, ẹnìkan oṣó. Gbogbo wa la jọ sunkún níjọ́ yẹn náà níwájú police station. I can never forget. That is a movement. But kàkà káwọn èèyàn wá join wa, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ń fi wá ṣe yẹ̀yẹ́ ni. Ẹni tó ń drive lọ nínú mọ́tò, orí yín ò dáa. Irelu, am I lying?
No, you are not.
So, táwa Yorùbá tá a bá lè ṣe papọ̀, how can we form a nation? Èkìtì ò like Ìjẹ̀bú, Ìjẹ̀bú ò like Ẹ̀gbá. Ẹ̀gbá ò like àwọn Ọ̀yọ́, Ọ̀yọ́ ò like Ìbàdàn. A dẹ̀ fẹ́ sọ pé a fẹ́ ṣe Yorùbá nation. We need to love one another first and foremost. A house divided against itself can never stand. Àwọn nǹkan tó ṣe pàtàkì. Before we build a house, we must have a foundation. Tí foundation yẹn ò bá solid, nǹkan tá a bá kọ́lé lórí ó máa wó ni tátẹ́gùn bá fẹ́ àbí tójò tó lágbára bá rọ̀. But if we build our foundation pẹ̀lú concrete tó lágbára, bá kọ́lé alájà mẹ́wàá ó máa dúró pa ni nígbà tí ọjọ́ tí òjò burúkú bá rọ̀. So we need to build each other up. Ká tiẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú tá bá rí ara wa lójú títì ká máa kí ara wa.
Sure. I'm going to stop you there because I normally want to finish sharp. As far as Nigeria is concerned, it's almost 7:30, and in UK it's almost 6:30. Kókó ọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n sọ ń bẹ̀ yẹn inú mi dúpẹ́ tún padà sí òun ni wípé tó wà pẹ̀lú tí program yìí wá ń ṣe. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbàgbé ọ̀rọ̀ àná, tá bá ṣẹra wa. Program is about misunderstanding. Àṣìgbọ́ bí interpretation tá bá gbọ́. Irú ẹ̀yin sìn ìyẹn alàgbà Prophet Osekita, wọn tiẹ̀ lè sọ̀rọ̀ àmọ́ nítorí pé wọn ò mọ ọmọ yìí tẹ́tí ń kọ́ láti Yorùbá, láti gbàgbó, wọn gbọ́ Yorùbá. Àìmọye àwọn ọmọ tó ń gbọ́ Yorùbá, mo mọ young man kan tó jẹ́ pé ìbá Yorùbá méjì tí ìyá àti bàbá ẹ̀ kọ́ níjọ́ tó fẹ́ tí immigration fẹ́ gbé ìyá ẹ̀ tí bàbá ẹ̀ sọ fún ló fi save màmá ẹ̀ tó gbé màmá ẹ̀ sọ́kọ̀. Talking about 1st of October, mo ti rẹ́ni tó kọ̀wé sí mi tí mo tún bá sọ̀rọ̀ 7.5 million naira náà fi ránṣẹ́ sáwọn tán láwọn ń rèsì owó, wọ́n ṣe tíṣẹ̀tì, wọ́n ṣe mọ́tò, wọ́n fẹ́ ra wọ́n fẹ́ gba bọ́ọ̀sì kínní kan kò wọ́n fẹ́ fún oní babaláwo lówó nǹkan kan wọ́n ṣe kankan. And let's face it, ọ̀rọ̀ Dámilọ́lá Taylor asáré ń gbà yẹn torí kó má kírú ẹ̀ má wáyé ǹjẹ́ mo yẹ ọmọ Yorùbá tún ti pàdánù since then.
Ẹ̀yìn yẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Kò pàdánù kí ni díẹ̀ torí pé àgbàjọ la fi sọ ẹgbà táwa ń sọ pé ọmọkùnrin yìí 20 years ló pé lọ́dún tó ti pa bọ́ ìyẹn dànù 20 years lẹ́yìn yẹ̀ tó kú ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé wá báyìí a lè wá ń bí dọ̀là. Mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Olódùmarè fún àkókò tó mú wá kí lákòókò náà àkókò náà láti ránra wa létí pé n tó ń pè lágbà inú ìmọ̀ ló wà, n tó ń pè ní àgbà inú ọgbọ́n ló wà, n tó ń pè ní àgbà Olódùmarè ló ń ṣe ní àgbà òun ló ń fúnni lóye. I want to repeat that in English. What is called elderly. It's not about age. It's about your knowledge. It's about your understanding. It's also about wisdom, which can only come from God. Olódùmarè ló ń ṣèyàn lágbàlagbà. Àdúrà mi ni wípé gẹ́gẹ́ bí Yorùbá ṣe kọ́ wa, àgbàlagbà ni agbọ́mọlà. Àgbàlagbà lẹni tó gbanilà. Ẹ̀ńtẹ́ lè lọ sábà, tẹ́ bá lọ sábà bó dára mi lójú ní báyìí tí mo mọ pásítọ̀ òkè bí ọ̀run ò sí. Àyà ẹ̀ gbà ó dẹ̀ wá ṣàlàyé nítorí pé wọ́n kàwé rẹpẹtẹ ṣùgbọ́n mínísítírì wọn ọ̀dọ̀ Jésù ló ti wà. Ṣùgbọ́n ọjọ́ tí mo ti pàdé wọn mo rò pé wọ́n farabalẹ̀ wọ́n rí wípé mi ò ń ṣe Kristẹni kọ́ ní ìṣòro bí kì í ṣe pé kò sẹ́ni tí Jésù tí ò rán ẹni tó bá pe Kristẹni sí, ó ní kò sẹ́ni tí ò rán sí, kò sí.
Kí ló wá? A máa jọ ń gbàdúrà o, a máa jọ ń gbàdúrà o. Àjọ gbàdúrà ẹ̀yin náà gbà ẹ̀yin ayé anybody lẹ́nu ẹ̀yin náà gbàgbọ́ nínú agbára Ọlọ́run.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni torí pé.
And I appreciate you very much. Very wise and intelligent woman. In fact, Ọlọ́run dá yín pé.
Kò sẹ́ni tó bá kò sẹ́ni tó jẹ́ Kristẹni, kò sẹ́ni tó jẹ́ Mùsùlùmí tí ó lòdì sí Ifá. Inú odù Ifá ọ̀kànràn méjì ó sọ̀rọ̀ ẹnìkan tá a pè lọ́rùn ẹ̀dá fún wa. Ó lákìrìbó tó ló máa bí, olówó ọ̀dà ló ti máa kú. Ó ní ó máa kéde gbàlà, ọ̀run ẹ̀dá ló pè fáwa. Nínú odù Ifá náà ẹni tí a bá dáfá fún tí òtúrá méjì bá ti jáde wá ní kó lọ ra àgé, kó lọ ra ẹní, kó máa la kírun. Now àwọn ancestors wa Kristẹni ò bá wọn láyé, Islam ò bá wọn láyé, ṣùgbọ́n ní ìgbà ìwáṣẹ̀ ìwà lolódùmarè fi ṣe ohun tí a gbọ́dọ̀ mọ bá a ṣe máa ránṣẹ́. Òjíṣẹ́ ni wa o, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá rán níṣẹ́ dáadáa á mú dáadáa wá bá yín. Tẹ́ bá nípasẹ̀ ìwà, tẹ́ bá ṣe kíni, tẹ́ mú ìwà, tẹ́ rán níṣẹ́ kan fọ́ta yín létí, tọ́ta yín bá gba ìfọ́tí orí bẹ́ẹ̀. Arákùnrin wa alàgbà Ayọ̀bádéjọ ìjọ kan màmá tó bí wọn wá ṣọlídé ni wọ́n lọ bí Àgbáńrè. A ti ń sọ gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ wọn kékeré pínṣín ní báyìí, pínṣín ní lọmọ ẹ̀ kò sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ pọ̀rọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ wà lẹ́nu mi nígbà ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kódà ó ya gbogbo wa lẹ́nu. Ọlọ́run àwọn ọmọ náà á dá sí. Mò ń sọ fún yín pé ipò àgbà kò sẹ́ni tí kò ní entitlement sí. Kì í ṣọ̀rọ̀ age, ipò àgbà. Ọmọ yẹn ó fi àgbàlagbà hàn pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ ẹnu ẹ̀ torí pé ohun tó sọ gbogbo alákẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ń bẹ̀. Ọmọ bíbí inú wọn ni. Ọmọ bíbí inú wọn ni. Èmi rí pé ẹ̀mí wà ní ara ẹ̀. So, brother, ní àwọn apologize tó bá yẹ pé táwọn sọ àṣìgbọ́ ṣe rí bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn sìn. Ṣe rí pé ẹ̀mí Olódùmarè ó ti sọ̀kalẹ̀ sáàrin wa. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo ohun tí àwọn alàgbà colonel tán sọ fún wa. Wọ́n là mọ iye ara wa o. Ẹ̀yin yóò bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ iye ara yín o. Ẹ mọ iye. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wo Kristẹni wá nínú gbogbo ká máa dúpẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá pé Yorùbá ní yínníyínní ká lè ṣe mí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá pé Islam wọ́n ní ká máa ṣe alhamdulillah. Ní àfọ̀ ibi tá a bá dé yìí, ẹ jẹ́ ká dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run wípé a rí àwọn nǹkan méjì mẹ́ta tí a ti fi bára wa sọ̀rọ̀. Bàbá rẹ̀ ni tó ṣẹra wọn nínú ètò tá a ṣe. Ẹ jẹ́ ká dáríjìra wa. Ahọ́n àti ẹnu wọ́n ń jà, àti eyín wọ́n ń jà, ṣùgbọ́n tó bá yá wọn á di ọ̀rẹ́ padà. Ẹ jẹ́ ká máa ní èdè àìyedè, ká dẹ̀ máa wá bí èdè yẹn ṣe máa yéra wọn. Mo like tí pastor sọ. He was positive. Wọ́n ní bí ò ṣe rí bó ṣe yẹ kó rí nsìn. Bó ṣe máa rí bó ṣe yẹ kó rí òun ni ká mójútó. Alàgbà wa tó ní ká máa ṣàdúrà fún àwọn tó bá ń náwó. Òdodo ọ̀rọ̀ náà sọ. Torí pé ẹlòmíì kò mọ àjò ṣe ju owó lọ. Kò mọ̀ bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣe dáa nìyẹn. Ká máa fàdúrà ràn wọ́n lọ pé àpò wọn ò ní gbẹ o. Nítorí pé ilé alákàn kì í gbẹ, àpò wọn ò ní gbẹ. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ń tẹ̀mọ́ alé tí pé ká máa encourage wọn kán máa ṣe. Èmi náà dẹ̀ sọ wípé tán bá ti ń ṣe, ẹ jẹ́ ká máa mọ ọbẹ̀ tán sè sí kókó. Ká mọ àwọn alàgbà wa doctor ní ìgbà míì wà tó jẹ́ pé iṣẹ́ gbáṣọ là ń sá lóòrùn. Ẹ rí pé ilé ayé ìwà lágbára báyìí. So on that note, let me begin to bring the program to an end. First of all, by thanking all of you who have joined me in the Zoom area. Because you are close to me here, I want to also thank the pilot. I've got a pilot out there. I thank those of you young people out there watching. Thank you for all the comments you sent. I want to again thank all the speakers and prophets. Mo fà wọ́n mú láti bẹ̀ wọ́n nítorí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá ti fẹ́ sọ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ wa ò ní sú yín o. Because he had a program called Nigerian Calls. He was preaching unity, peace, love, this. Kódà wọ́n fẹ́ lè máa da omi gbóná lé wọn lórí látòrí rédíò. Thank you very much for all you've done in the past. Welcome back on board. Let's not give up. Alàgbà Colonel Tony Nyam, I thank you very much for giving time today and sharing the raw truth. Dr. John Mabayoje, bàbá àjọ ni wọ́n o, ọdẹ apẹrin ni wọ́n, erin ọdẹ apẹrin ni doctor. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí wọn yẹn, wọ́n ń pe erin Olódùmarè. A gbìyànjú, mo mí ní pé wọ́n ń pa erin, ọdẹ ni wọ́n, hunter ni wọ́n. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí wọn yẹn, hunter. So I thank you very much for your continued support.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Alàgbà Àbáyọ̀mí, Abba náà máa ń fẹ́ pé wọn àjọ máa ń jà ní, ṣùgbọ́n jẹ́ ń pè lórúkọ tẹ̀ ń jẹ́ wọ́n change orúkọ wọn sí Kristi Lolú. Ó dá Ògúnlolú ni máa pè yí o. But
yes,
in any case, thank you so much as always for being here. I thank also Alàgbà Ọ̀dẹ́dẹ̀yí. I thank Azeez Ọláìdé, always here. I want to say to all of you, I love you very much. I love you because you've been part of the exchange of thoughts, and you're only here because there must be something about the program. There'll be something about the way I've written the message, and you come with love to discover whether or not there is a tinge of a new way you can do things, for us all to do one thing, that is to unite in order to free our nation. But what that freedom means, we are yet to work out. I pray that by God's grace, by the special grace of our ancestors looking down on us, because we believe they are looking down on us. They've done a lot of work before us, and they don't want to see their hard-earned goodness of Olodumare perish. May we not be the root of what will be the end of what we know today as Yoruba land. But may Olodumare guide us in all we do to position ourselves right at the heart of anything that is good, to be able to open our doors without fear to our neighbors worldwide, and without a repeat of what took place in the transatlantic slavery time. I want to again thank you, especially I pray that you shall be rewarded in abundance, because to have enough time and money for the data to run Zoom is not anything that one can say it's easy. It's expensive to those of you who are in Nigeria, likewise all over the world. On that note, I send you away with special blessings of Olodumare, wisdom for us to be able to continue to find a way forward. To all of you who have joined me today, my keynote speaker, my guest speakers, the commentators, and in particular those of you at home, I am Erelu Tunwashe, and we come to the end of this episode. Yoruba.
Quick prayer for you, Erelu. Quick prayer.
Hold on a second. Well, we are about to end it with prayer. So, who is going to lead us? I have so many pastors here. I've got Baba Ijo.
Me, I just want to pray for you. Very brief. It's not long.
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
You have been doing this for a long time. My prayer is that you will reap the fruit of your labor. I know you love to eat your amala early in the morning. The amala must be going down in your throat properly, because I won't come only jẹun. Mo gbàdúrà pé àmàlà yẹn kó máa lọ bó ṣe tọ́. And I know you have children, you have grandchildren, and maybe great-grandchildren. You will continue to see their goodness. You will be with us for a long time. You must reap the fruit of your labor. No matter what anybody says. Anybody that comes against you, that is my prayer for you. And I pray for everybody else that's on board, that likewise it shall be well with us all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah, Pastor your blessings for everybody since you've decided to take it over. Everybody do a program. Blessings for us, please.
Agbára Ọlọ́run kò ní fi wá sílẹ̀. Rere là ń rò fún wa, fún ìdílé wa, àti fún ohun tí Ọlọ́run fún wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ilẹ̀ àti èdè. Gbogbo olè ara, olè ẹ̀mí, olè dúkìá, olè ilẹ̀ tó fẹ́ gba ilẹ̀ wa, Ọlọ́run bá fi wọ́n pamọ́. Gbogbo ìjà tá a ti jà, gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tá a ń sọ, ẹ̀mí Ọlọ́run kó gbè wá níjà. Agbára Ọlọ́run kó jà fún wa. A ò ní sọ ilẹ̀ wa nù, a ò ní sọ èdè wa nù, a ò ní sọ àṣà wa nù, a ò ní sọ Ọlọ́run. A ò sì ní ìjọba, a ò ní sọ ìjọba ọ̀run sọnù. Gbàdéjà ṣe léèní, Ọlọ́run kó bá lọ́wọ́ sí. Ọlọ́run kó jẹ́ kí ó so èso ńlá, kó sì gba ìlú Yorùbá nation fún wa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni yóò rí ní orúkọ Jésù Olúwa wa. Àmín.
Tó àkọ́dá jẹ́ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀, àṣẹ̀dá jẹ́ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀. gbogbo ohun tó ń jẹ́ níre ajẹkórí bẹ́ẹ̀ ò tó ire lónìí àti lọ́jọ́ gbogbo èmi ni Erelu Túwàṣẹ wà ní àwa ń lọ ó dìgbà ó ṣe ká má fi kú yára wa yára wa àwa ń lọ ó dìgbà ó ṣe ká má fi kú yára wa ká má fàrùn yára wa. Until next time, I want to say good evening to you all, wherever you are.
Good evening. God bless.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
All the best. Thank you.